What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We're going to be talking about the fact that President Trump may actually be a changed man. Want to get your take on it, but nevertheless, yesterday at the Republican National Convention, both Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, aka Ron DeSanctimonious and Bird Brain, were actually invited to speak at the Republican National Convention by Trump himself personally. And President Trump changed his schedule so that he could be there to attend both of their speeches. So make no mistake about it, it looks like President Trump may be seeking unity from the Republican Party. So as you see, the title of the live stream is President Trump a changed man? Should he get credit for the fact that he appears, by all intents and purposes, to be seeking unity from the Republican Party, inviting both Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis? And when we say, is he a changed man? And I see in the comments, Joseph Bearpaw says he is not a changed man. Come on. The reason why we're asking that, not only did he invite his political adversaries on his same side of the aisle to come speak at his convention, which is not that out of the normal. Kamala Harris really attacked President Biden, and here she is vice president. That's not as much out of the normal as President Trump, who is actively campaigning for president, going nearly a week without criticizing President Biden in any fashion or form in terms of online. Did perhaps the close encounter to being put in Patrick Swayze's role as Ghost Part 2, did the possibility that Trump almost lost his life perhaps maybe soften him up a bit? We've been almost a week, and you have not really seen any harsh communication coming from President Trump like you would normally see. Keep in mind, even when Biden performed poorly during the debate, Trump hasn't really been hammering him on that either. But what I want to ask is, do you see a possibility where maybe Trump has had a change of heart in terms of harsh rhetoric and being divisive due to the fact that he almost lost his life? Keep in mind, right after that happened to Trump, there was a unified message coming from the right, coming from Republicans and conservatives, and even MAGA to some degree, that we need to tone down the harsh political rhetoric in America. Obviously, it's shocking considering what happened when Nancy Pelosi's husband was beaten quite badly with a hammer, and you look at the actions of Trump and MAGA, and now that all of a sudden it almost happened to Trump, we need to tone it down. But what I want to ask is, do you believe that Trump may be a changed man due to that near out-of-body experience? Now, also, as you know, we normally have two topics, and today is no different. Second topic being, by now everybody's aware that during the attempted assassination on President Trump, there were others in the crowd that sustained injuries. One, Corey, don't want to butcher his name, Comparatore or something like that. He got an interesting name, but his last name, 50-year-old retired firefighter, which being retired at 50 years old, hey, that's nice. Retired firefighter, 50 years of age, lost his life at the event. President Biden, not Trump, President Biden immediately reached out to the widow of Corey Comparatore to offer condolences, and the widow refused to take President Biden's call, stating her husband is a devout Republican and would not want her talking to him. Obviously, it would lead to folks to ask, what kind of guy was this? Anytime his wife is not really wanting to talk to somebody based on her late husband's wishes. But yeah, he's a retired firefighter. He's a civil servant. We want to view him as a hero. But damn, your wife is like, I wouldn't want you taking a call to offer condolences in my death to this guy? Wow. But I want to ask you folks, in regards to that, what leads people to act like that? Divisive in death. What leads folks to act like that? He has lost his life, and here the widow, here his wife is, still holding on to the grudge that the man had in life. So you guys know how the program is ran. It is, always will be MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one. Always has been, always will. We don't ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. You don't have to agree with the host. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. It's always about free speech here. We don't talk down to guests. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. So looking in the comments right off the bat, because they're theocrats, their goal is 7 mountains mandate. Joseph, you got to explain some of that. Republican propaganda got us here. Damn. He spoke and the markets tanked. Don't quite understand that one. No, he is exactly what and who his ego has always been. This is in regards to President Trump. Is he a changed man? Joseph says, no, he is exactly what and who his ego has always been. They get to slap people in the face, but we need to turn down the heat on their agenda to turn this nation into a theocracy. So looking in the comments, how do you read Project 2025 as a far-right disaster being imposed on the American people if it is implemented? Even President Trump states it's way too far to the right. Now, take it with a grain of salt, but even if President Trump is saying this is a bit too much, take that into consideration. That's not to say he won't implement it, but he is on record saying it's way too much. Looking in the comments, gosh, I did not know you people have the same amount of support for Trump as my family. Wow. All right, I don't really know what your definition of you people is, but good to hear your family is involved in politics. Where's the press conference of the doctor who treated his ear? Yeah, I mean, I suppose you raise a point. Is there really a big deal to that? I mean, he took a slight grazed wound to the ear. I mean, what is the guy going to say? He put 3 stitches in it, put a little bit of gauze over it and moved on. I mean, that's really all it amounts to. Looking at the comments real quick here. Nothing Burger says, Trump is a changed man. Thank God for the better. Finally, some emotional and less ego. That's what us conservatives wanted, a better rounded Trump. I'll tell you this, if Trump is a changed man, it will only help him politically. I do believe that with only 4 months remaining. Alter ego, yeah! Thank you for the hat and mustache. Plural, appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Alter ego, you always support the program. I absolutely appreciate that. In regards to Trump being a changed man, and you suggesting that that's what us conservatives wanted, a better rounded Trump. To some degree, it's so close that I don't know if people are going to accept it, but I'm going to accept DJ Julio showing the program some love with that underground choral. Thank you. And we'll move the program to Bob Paintner in the box. Thank you once again, DJ Julio. Trump already put out shoes saying Joe Biden falls downstairs. He dodges bullets. Bob, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing good. What do you think? Is there a chance Trump is a changed man due to his close bout with death?
Well, I don't know whether he's changed or not. I think that maybe he has a different perspective about life. You know what I'm saying? I think that anytime you come close to death, and I mean, he was very close to death.
Very.
You have a different perspective. Yeah, sure. I mean, when people are shooting at you, I mean, I'm sure you might even have a little PTSD,
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I'm asking that is we haven't really received any negative commentary on social media from Trump since that event. I mean, the man wasn't golfing and for the most part kept his mouth kind of shut. You know.
Well, I think now he's trying to have a different approach. I think he's trying to bring the country together versus the crazy rhetoric that you get from both sides. I mean, you got a tremendous amount of.
I don't know if my caller had a call. We'll give it a second to see if it clears up. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying that I think there's been a lot of rhetoric, from the current president, about the bullseye, and those kind of things. I just think that he really may not even know who to trust, really, except his own family.
When you say he don't know who to trust, you're talking about Trump?
Yeah, Trump.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the bullseye rhetoric. Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, is suggesting that it is rhetoric from Biden that is responsible for the assassination attempt on Trump. Do you also agree that Biden is the reason that this stuff happened to Trump?
I don't know. I mean, you got people are, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I don't know that it's Biden that done it. I mean, you have these people that get these ideals in their head. I mean, just because somebody tells me to jump off a bridge doesn't mean I'm going to jump off a bridge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not going to go out and kill somebody because somebody says that it's the worst, this is the worst person in the world.
Right.
I might kill somebody if somebody was trying to hurt my family. I might shoot somebody then, or they're trying to hurt me and my family. But, I'm not going to just listen to some politician and say, "Oh my God,"
So you would not have participated on January 6th, in other words, then, because that was all done listening to some politician, essentially.
No, I wouldn't have been there for that. No.
Okay, fair enough. So, in addition to that, how do you? I also mentioned as a side topic, the individual that lost his life there at the Trump gathering when the assassination attempt took place.
Right.
His wife won't even take a call from Biden to offer condolences, saying that her husband was a devout Republican and would not want her talking to Biden. What makes people act like that?
Yeah, I mean that's part of that's part of the problem, I think, in today's society. I mean, people are so full of themselves on social media, and they're either one way or the other. Whether they hear something that may or may not be true, they pick a side, and that's it. That's the side they're on until either somebody convinces them that they're on the wrong side, or they just die going down that one path. They don't take everything into consideration, and I mean, when there's a problem, if there's a problem in the world, the object would be to figure out what the problem is and try to resolve it. But you're never going to please everybody. But the goal is to please the majority of people.
Yeah. But wait a minute. When you have a slogan such as "fuck your feelings," are you really even concerned what the people think to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to think about. I mean,
let me rephrase it and ask it to you this way. Let's say you had a complaint. Let's say I'm your local city councilman or mayor or something, and you had a complaint about how I address certain citizens. And my response to you was, "Fuck your feelings. I'm doing what's best to the town." Do you believe I'm trying to unify with you?
No, I don't think you're trying to unify anything. But there's so many people that have what I deem as coffee pot issues. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Stuff that's just important to them, or a small group of people. That it's not something that's good for everybody in the country, or the majority of people in the country. And so I think people need to set aside their coffee pot issues and let's fix the economy. Let's fix the way we interact with other countries. The way we let's interact. Let's secure our border and make sure.
But hold on. You're responding with the difference between the levels of importance for different issues. I'm asking you, though, how would you view a politician responding to you with "fuck your feelings"?
I would be, well, first of all, if it wasn't something that was good for everybody or the majority, I wouldn't go to a politician and say da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? I would figure out a way to fix it myself for me to satisfy
But
myself.
if you did go to a politician with something you had an issue with, and the response was "fuck your feelings," how would you feel about that?
I'd probably tell him to kiss my ass. You know, honestly, you know, I mean that's where I would be with it. But you know, but then again, yeah, I'm not going to harbor. I'm not going to let his attitude. I'm not going to let his attitude make me feel like I'm any worse. You know what I'm saying? Why would you respond with saying that I'm not going to let his attitude make me feel worse? Does "fuck your feelings" come across to you as a statement that's designed to make you feel bad or feel good? It's designed to make me feel like I'm unimportant. Yeah. You know, and so, but I don't give my importance. He doesn't make me whether I'm important or not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't care who he is. Whatever man is out there, I put my pants on the same way he puts his on. I don't think there's anybody better than me. Period. You know what I'm saying? So let me present it. I don't take that into account. You know. Fair enough. So based on what you're saying, that you believe that's a statement to make, you believe that would be a statement to make you feel unimportant. If I'm your local politician and I'm saying something that you believe is designed to make you feel unimportant, could I possibly still secure your vote come election time? It depends. If you're doing what's best for the majority of people, and I'm getting some benefit too, you know what I'm saying? Because whoever goes into office, it's not just one issue. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of issues when you're going to be the president or whatever. Even if mayor of there's a lot of issues. Okay, so one issue is not going to make me change my mind about one thing or the other. You know what I'm saying? Even if you, as you stated, I'm deliberately trying to make you feel like you're unimportant. It's still a good chance, as long as I'm doing what's best for the. Long as I'm doing long as I'm doing what's best for the people, the fact that I'm making you feel unimportant would be meaningless. You wouldn't act on it at all. No, because I don't care about. I mean, I don't care about that stuff. You know, I may not like you personally. You know, I may think you're an asshole, but if you're doing a good job and things are happening the way they should happen, I'm gonna vote for you, even though I don't like you. If you're not doing a good job, and then it's "fuck your feelings," then I'm not gonna vote for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're an asshole and you don't know what you're doing. But when you say if you're doing a good job, and if a politician's job is to relate to the people, if I'm saying "fuck your feelings" to you, isn't relating to you part of my job? Isn't part of my job to make you feel hold on. The politician's job is to figure out what's important to the people and then get those things done. And we'll get those things done through his term. You know, if it's border control or whatever, if that's what everybody wants, then it's his job to make sure that we have a border bill that satisfies the people in this country. What if everybody wants me to stop telling you to fuck your feelings? Then his job is he's got to go. You know what I'm saying? If that's the scenario, you know what I'm saying? Right. But you know, none of us are perfect. All of us say shit at times that aren't. You know, wait. You said at times. This is a campaign slogan practically. They're raising money off of this. This isn't something they're saying at times. It's an ongoing thing. Who is it? Who are we talking about? We're talking about "fuck your feelings." No, I mean, but who says it? Who said it? Biden. Biden says that. You go to Biden rallies, they're wearing "fuck your feeling" t-shirts and everything. Well, you know, I mean, Biden, he ain't all there, you know what I'm saying? He can't even read the sign. I'm telling you. He hasn't got a clue what's going on. All right. He's an old man. And I'll tell you, my wife's a registered nurse. She works in a hospice. And we have seen that look, you know, before. many times. My father-in-law passed 8 or 9 months ago, and he was the same way in terms of he couldn't remember what he was saying. He'd come to my house, and he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he'd come to my house and he'd say the same thing over and over again. He would say, "Man, I really love your place here." Boom. He loved the property that we lived on, and every time he would say it 2 or 3 times throughout.
Okay, your point is that Biden has mental issues, and what you've seen out of him reminded you of that. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, right. Yeah, it's for sure. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We might disagree on a few things, but Bob, I appreciate you coming back through the program anytime. The door's open to you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Good talk. Moving the program. And by the way, tap the screen. Get the likes on up to about 20,000. It helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. Certainly tap the screen, get the likes up. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. Guess what? Love the name. That's someone's name. Guess what on YouTube? Thank you for the super chat. Says, the lady not taking Biden's call. Stop looking for shit. She was honoring her late husband. So by not taking Biden's call, stating that her husband was a devout Republican, and he would not want her talking to Biden, that is indeed honoring her late husband. Wow. It's interesting because a lot of folks harbor feelings towards other people, other groups. Sometimes hate is real. So if the individual that has, animosity, hatred, jealousy, whatever feeling you want to put, if that person passes away, and one of the family members carry on that mindset, it's honoring them. Huh. That's a little different. Okay, that's a little different. I'll leave it at that. If J13, okay, that's the assassination. Okay, if J13 was staged, that lends credibility to the claims that January 6th was staged. Inside job, false flag, etc., etc. I'm under the assumption until I see solid evidence, I don't believe either event was staged. Now, unlike what happened with President Trump, there is a lot of evidence that people were co-conspiring before January 6th. It just came out at the January 6th hearings committee. If you're one of my beloved MAGA, I know you didn't listen to it, but there is enough evidence to suggest that the likes of Steve Bannon and some of those folks, at the end of the day, Steve Bannon said, come out of here, it's going to be wild. People caught planes and drove out there. So obviously, there's a lot of planning going on back and forth. Unless we want to just believe the only people who planned ahead of time on January 6th was Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the FBI, and Ray Epps. Everybody else did no planning at all. They just happened to magically appear there that day. We'll leave it at that. Thank you folks for tapping the screen. Get the likes up to 20,000. Going to the box, we'll go straight to see Big Something. see the rest of that there, but what does that say? Big Bank?
How we doing, sir?
I'm doing good. What is the name there?
Big Bank be sniping.
Big Bank be sniping?
The idea came from playing matches and then you snipe. Remember that was the whole thing of sniping back in the day.
Okay.
I think people still snipe, but
I'm learning something. So what do you think? The widow of the guy that lost his life on the day Trump's, what they call it, July 13th, I guess that helps with the censorship. But when they were trying to take Trump out, the widow of the guy that did lose his life refused to take calls from President Biden. Divisive in death. Is that looking for shit to simply bring that up?
Yeah, I just feel like, and rest in peace to that person, RIP,
right.
Obviously, for losing their life and to exercising their patriotism, going to an event. But not taking a call from the president, sitting president, I feel like it's not helping the cause. You know what I mean? Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Yeah. I feel like she should take the call.
And let me reverse it and ask this question as well. We're speculating here because we'll never know because Biden reached out to her. If Biden had not offered condolences to that woman, not tried to call her at all, what are the chances that someone on the right may have criticized him?
Oh yeah. it's the criticism would have been crazy. It would have been I mean, you can imagine the news stories that would be coming out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I feel like the election is so close. I have my golf buddies, my buddies you drinking whatever with, and everyone is just so. One day they're, you know what, I'm going to go Trump. Next day I'm going to go Biden. I have Republicans. Some will say the same thing. You
got a group of buddies that are switching between Trump and Biden. I would love to hear what their issues are, because these men are off in a completely different direction for America. It's crazy to have people that are still on the fence.
Yeah, I find it interesting myself, but I understand. I mean, there's a lot of policies that Trump, as far as being aggressive with NATO, we have 32 members of NATO. A lot of them came in back in 49, the original 12 members. I mean, and a lot of them they're just not paying enough. They're not. We're paying to guard them in out there in Europe, right? So why can't some of those countries be more aggressive when it comes to their budgets, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with some of the foreign policies, if you will, as far as the Republicans are trying to do.
Do you agree that we should just leave NATO and not NATO, the Ukraine and Russia to their own devices and get out of it completely?
That's the tricky one, right? Will Putin advance into Europe more? Will he push, into Poland and so on? That's the worry. I don't know, but given Zelensky $60 billion or more every time he comes over here, what is he doing with that money as well? Do we really know? Where that money is really, 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 truly going.
Well, we know. I'll tell you this. It's kind of like if you give your ex child support and you're wondering, well, what is she doing with the money? If every time you see your child, the child looks alive and healthy and well fed, it's pretty obvious. The fact that Zelensky is still alive and the Ukrainians are still in the fight shows he's kind of spending that money pretty damn well. We know he ain't spending it on hookers and booze. I mean, because the Ukraine is still in the fight.
I mean, do you think this could be so? All right.
Well, I'll let you continue. But by the way, we're not exactly handing Zelensky bags of cash. We're giving him weapons and armaments. We're not giving him money. We're giving him stuff that costs money.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever is approved by Congress and whatever, but it's still costing us here, and it can help us. It could drive inflation. Right now, the Feds, as you know, is trying to contemplate whether they should cut interest rates going into the third and fourth quarter. Well, we're already in the third, but going in, especially in the fourth quarter, Christmas time coming up here, in the election.
But you asked the question. We have to wonder what Zelensky is doing with the money. I mean, what do you think he's really going to do with a tank or with a bunch of AK-47 rounds? I mean, it's pretty obvious the guy is using the stuff to defend his nation, isn't it?
I mean, sure, but we also have to take in consideration the lives that are being lost as well, right?
Yeah.
We're losing people, actual human beings are being lost, cities are being destroyed. So at what point do we say these people are a lot of them are Russians, right?
Yeah.
Let's be real. They're Russians.
Right.
So they're Russians fighting Russians. And so...
No, they're predominantly Ukrainians fighting Russians.
Right. But, if we want to go back into the whole Soviet Union and the USSR before, that whole got broken up, a lot of these people were Russians, right?
Yeah, but the overwhelming majority of one side is Ukrainians. The folks that are fighting on behalf of Zelensky, it's not a bunch of Russians fighting on the behalf of Zelensky against Russia. There may be some folks in that crowd, but the overwhelming majority of them are Ukrainians. They're not Russians.
Right, and I agree. Who wants to be under an authoritarian government where there's no constitutional limits to your power, like we see what's going on out there in Russia? Yes, they have a so-called constitution over there in Russia, but we all know it seemed like one guy has an unlimited amount of power. There's no checks and balances to that person's power. So a lot of Ukrainians are running from that. They don't want to experience that.
Wait, who is the person that has unlimited power? Who are you referring to?
I mean, in Russia. I mean, right?
Putin. You're talking about Putin. Yeah, Putin.
That Putin.
Okay.
It seemed like he has unlimited power over there.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And anyone that seems to run against him, seems to be either convicted of something or end up being unalive.
But
So
speaking of that, the fact that it is difficult to run against Putin and continue living on Earth, why do you think Trump often speaks so positively of him when everyone agrees with you, Putin is a tyrant?
I think because he sees the same kind of ideologies as Putin.
You think Trump has the same kind of ideology as a tyrant?
I feel like some of the ideas he's bringing to us, to America. First, he wants to control the media, control the narrative at all times, control the judicial system, the courts, the judges, everything, right? So that if we're heading that direction, we're heading into an authoritarian dictatorship style, England style government.
Do you tell this stuff to your golf buddies who are on the fence?
I point this out to many people all the time, and they might look at the business aspect of it. Well, I understand that, but he's America first. He wants to make sure we're kind of going things unilaterally about things, especially with the economy.
Well, being America first, I mean, I would assume that Kim Jong-un is North Korea first, Vladimir Putin is Russia first, what is his name? Can't think of the guy's name. Xi Jinping, he's China first. I mean, that doesn't say much.
Right, but I mean, do you think we have our hands maybe in too much at times globally, and that could affect us here at home?
Yeah, I do. But that's the reason we're a superpower, is because we have our hands in too much. That's the reason the U.S. dollar is, the most accepted currency on earth, is because if we take our hands out of all of that stuff, somebody else is going to step up and do the same and surpass us. Are we okay with that?
I don't know if you saw today the markets, the stock market kind of shifted, especially when it comes to the small caps. But if you're interested, like in Taiwan and some of these chips, the chip stocks, with like Nvidia and you have Intel and so on. But like with Taiwan, what Trump said with Taiwan, if China were to invade Taiwan, should the U.S. respond? And Trump said, basically said, screw Taiwan. They took over the entire microchip market. Why should we? They're a rich country. They can defend themselves. So why should we be involved?
Do you think Trump has a good? Do you favor what Trump said?
I think that's a dangerous statement to make because if he gets in office, he's basically letting China know they can invade at any time. He's okay with it. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it kind of sounds like you're leaning away from Trump. Am I hearing you right?
I want to save America.
You're talking about an authoritarian person. You're painting Trump as a possible authoritarian with tyrannical views. You're talking about he's going to give Taiwan to China. You're making it sound like he may allow Putin to expand into Eastern Europe, but you're on the fence. I want to hear about Biden. What has Biden done? Because you're painting a pretty bleak picture of Trump, but you're still leaning in that direction, which would lead me to believe you believe Biden is horrible. Give me some of Biden's worst hits.
I mean, for one, we all know the elephant in the room, right? The guy's the president of the United States, and he sounds like a man you would walk into at a retirement home. That grandpa.
Well, you said the other one. Yeah, but you're talking about voting between grandpa and, as you put it, a tyrant. I mean, you're going to pick the tyrant over grandpa?
That's the options. We don't have any other options, do we? I mean,
no,
I'm not very happy with the options.
All right, give me another one.
Okay, and also, as far as, don't get me wrong, Biden has a lot of good policies, but
give me the worst. Give me the bad stuff.
The bad stuff is the support of the too many sanctuary cities across the countries here. Supporting some of these sanctuary cities, supporting look, abortion is very, tricky for me, but I don't feel like we should. The planet is a planet overpopulated. That's an argument to make, right? But should we be getting rid of unborn humans and not giving them a chance to live out a life on Earth here and find a purpose? That's an argument. I say maybe the lords or the creators, the supreme being, whatever you guys want to call them, gods, don't want us to be doing that. So I support not having abortions that freely. I live in Florida, a very conservative state. You have to do ultrasounds and so on. Kind of like play mind games with you. Like, hey, sure you want to do that? Sure you want to do that? So I support that type of stuff, and it seems like they want to expand it. So there's a few things that I on the foreign policy.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, when I asked you for Trump's stuff, you're giving me tyrants. You're giving me he's willing to let whole countries fall. Right now with Biden, he's an old man that is kind of pro-choice. You gotta have something worse than that, right?
No, I'm not saying he's worse. I'm saying I'm kind of pointing out some good stuff about him as well.
I asked you for the worst hits. Why would you go to good stuff? Give me the worst hits.
Oh, I would say the worst. I mean, the expansion of the government. He seems to not favor the stock market, not too much being in favor of business. He seems more for government guy.
You do realize you're comparing one guy expanding the government to another guy you called the tyrant. What do you think tyrants do?
Maybe are you saying Joe Biden is a tyrant?
No, you said it. You said that Trump's language is sounding tyrannical, and now you're saying you don't favor Biden because he wants to expand the government. I'm asking you, what do you think tyrants do? I don't. Give me some more Biden's worst hits.
I don't know what. Again, as far as worst hits, it's tough because it's. I support Biden as far as when it comes to the limits, what he's trying to propose with the justices, right? Giving them term limits, maybe 18 years per justice. I support that. I think that's a good idea. I don't know if that will get through Congress, but I think it's a good idea there.
Didn't count.
So I think Biden has a good team around him, to be honest. I think Biden doesn't have to do much. I think the team that he has is strong enough to help him get through and keep America, right? It's just some of the immigration stuff. It needs to get more aggressive on the immigration stuff. I don't know if you saw what happened.
Well, we did have you did see, even though it was late as hell, Biden did come along with a bipartisan bill to kind of give you your wish on that. It got shot down because of the guy you're calling a tyrant now. Or you're assuming, or you're alluding to he may be tyrannical in some of his policies. That's the guy. Otherwise, you would have had some of the stuff you're talking about.
I don't know if you saw recently Copa America. We had Copa America. The finals was in Miami. Argentina versus Colombia.
Okay.
And it was kept at the Hard Rock Stadium. And I don't know if you saw the chaos at the stadium there. I'm not blaming the influx of immigration, but it's an influx of immigration, right? And we're supposed to be hosting the World Cup here in about 7 years. Imagine all these people coming into our country and just not deciding to go back.
Yeah.
So imagine we let in, millions of people in 7 years on visas because we have these walls put up, and they're just flying right in. And they decide, hey, I'm not going to return. That was chaotic, seeing that Copa America. You guys can YouTube that, how people were just jumping the fence, just no regard for anything. And I'm like, we need
I could show you that after a Bruins, somebody win the championship. St. Louis Blues won the championship in hockey, and I saw that. I got to move it on, though. I do appreciate you coming. Send me what you got in regards to that. I haven't seen that. I would love to see it. But I do have to move it on, Big. Appreciate it. Thank you. Moving the program on. And by the way, folks, when we say we go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon, we mean it. Everyone gets to speak. We don't talk down to guests. Feel free to come on through anytime. DJ Julio with the Underwater Coral. Appreciate that. Thank you for the support as always, DJ Julio. By the way, tap the screen. Get the likes showing up to about 30,000, 600 plus of you in here. Same on YouTube, if you will. Smash that like button. Get us up to about 80. We can certainly have that happen on YouTube. I think the 3 dots at the top of your screen makes that happen. We are MAGA friendly all day, every day. North Korea sending troops to Russia. Russian news, breaking news. Well, we know Russia has purchased weaponry from North Korea. So it is what it is. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but they've kind of been teamed up for a while now. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So you probably wouldn't surprise me if China starts supplying Russia with stuff because they don't like the United States. I'm surprised this guy's from Florida seems to have all his faculties in order. What was wrong with my last caller? Let me go back to the box. Somebody said, you a shill. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't think it's a compliment, but thank you for your input. Continuing on with the program with the one and only one of my subscribers, Dencow. Good afternoon, Dencow. We're asking, good afternoon, Dencow.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much at all. I'll start out with the widow of the retired firefighter that lost his life at a Trump gathering. Biden reached out to his widow to offer condolences, and she wouldn't even take the call, stating that her husband is a devout Republican and would not want her talking to him. How do you view that? Divisiveness and hate, or am I just simply reaching to bring it up?
No, I mean, we can only go by what was a public sentiment for since this history was, since this country was started, was that you don't have to necessarily like the president, but you should respect the office. Now we have presidents that go to funerals of people lost in battle, that their families blame the president, but he is still the commanding officer. He is still the commander in chief. So I don't know how that's honoring somebody by saying that the commander in chief is not worthy of respect, because of something that happened to her husband that he had zero to do with.
Well, J.D. Vance disagrees with you. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance is stating it is Biden's very language, suggesting that Biden has been so divisive and hateful towards Trump that it led to what happened there that day.
Well, if that young 20-year-old in Pennsylvania had access to that high-dollar donor meeting where Biden said something that could be construed as violence, I would agree with that. But that nobody knew about that meeting and what was said until after this all broke out.
Right. And here's my thing, though. A lot of this, because you talk the bullseye comment, all of this stuff that came from the right that was similar was considered to be a joke, taken out of context, was totally fine until this happened. I mean, President Trump tweeted out a picture of Biden hog-tied in the trunk of a car. Nobody said anything about it being potentially violent or dangerous to the president. So I don't understand why all of a sudden the bullseye comment, which Sarah Palin did to Obama as well, suddenly became a major issue. Is it a case of folks picking and choosing when to get outraged?
Yeah, I mean, for years, we've heard this man get up at every rally and say, fight, hit back, fight back. Don't let them take this from you. And not a word. They like that. They liked the way he got up after being shot saying, fight, fight, fight. Who is he talking about fighting? He's talking about Democrats. He's talking about Democrats. He's talking about all apparatuses of our government, the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service. Everybody is corrupt, according to him. And he's saying he's going to be the man to fight all of that.
Yeah.
Now, his Secret Service allowed a shot to be taken at him. These are his Secret Service agents that are around him 24 hours a day.
Should they allow at least a third of a magazine to be? I mean, that guy got off 8 shots, I think they said.
And he gets up at the end and says, fight against Democrats?
Well, in defense of Trump, he just said fight. He didn't say fight against Democrats.
What do you think he meant then?
Maybe.
Who was he talking about fighting against?
I'm going to put on my devil's advocate MAGA hat and say it could have been, fight against the system, fight against corruption, fight against the swamp. It didn't have to be Democrats.
Right, but all of those people he's saying is Democrats.
No.
He's saying all of the prosecutors against him were Democrats. He's saying the other side. He's saying the party. It's all. Who is he saying? Who is he saying in the Republican Party is
Oh my God, the list is endless in regards to who's on the Republican Party that he may not like or refer to as a swamp creature. Liz Cheney, Mike Pence, Chris Christie. I mean, it's endless. He does believe a lot of folks on the right are swamp creatures. He could have been talking about fight against them.
Those people are now already out of government, right?
Mitt Romney's still there. I don't think he's a big fan of Mitch McConnell anymore. Right. He's still Romney, there.
He's stepping down after this term too, Mitt Romney is.
Yeah. Well, they know there's no place, no love for them afterwards. I'm surprised Mitch McConnell didn't resign immediately.
Yeah. Hey, but in regards to your last caller, it just amazed me how he could admit and say that this guy has tyrannical tendencies. But
I believe in letting the people speak. I just want.
Joe Biden was, his wife, they seen some people that were old, and he couldn't name anything really bad that Biden did. He said the stock market, which is literally at an all-time high, it had a small pullback today, but he said Biden is not for the stock market. He said Biden is for expansion of government when Trump is literally talking about coming in and creating a whole nother form of government in a deportation force.
Yeah.
He created the Space Force. He's literally talking about expanding the government in crazy ways, and he's talking about he's talking about the immigrants at a football game, and he's scared they're gonna fly in for the games and stay here.
I didn't realize it was that humorous until you interpreted it that way.
Come on, man! He's talking about him and his buddies go back and forth between the tyrant and the old guy. Are we serious?
That could be a tyrant and an old guy walks into a bar.
Right. I mean, are they literally changing up who they gonna vote for? Like they must not care about the party platforms or what side each one is.
Well, I will say this: despite Trump offering to make some changes at the government level, a lot of folks believe that the changes he's making are for the better. Believes this country would be better off if you got rid of the Department of Education, the Department of Commerce, the EPA, the FDA. It's scary sounding to me, but a lot of folks believe that the country would be better off like that.
Yeah, but that's like me saying that if the government said, hey, they were going to make guns illegal, make firearms illegal, but they were going to give the police complete immunity. Like I don't care about a gun if the police can do anything they want to me.
Yeah. And Trump is indeed offering to give police immunity from prosecution. I can't play really devil's advocate in his defense because he hasn't really stated what he means by that. And he just said, I want to give them immunity so that they can do their job. And I'm like, what can't they do that they need immunity for?
And he will not say what it is. Every time he talks to people, it's controlled. He's never asked questions like that he's not either prepared or he just obfuscates from.
Well, but considering the way you're describing Trump, Jay Pettis on YouTube, Blacks for Trump. Trump still is doing better with African Americans than most Republican predecessors like Romney, McCain, Bush. Why do you think that is? Why is he doing so well with blacks if what you're saying is true?
Because he's a cult of personality. Like people like fall for him because of the things that he says, and like being like people saying, "Oh, I'm going to vote for him more," because he was shouting, put his fist up after he got shot. Like that has nothing to do with what he plans on doing with the country.
Yeah. I gotta tell you,
that, but that's propaganda. Like it works. It works, and that's why people have been doing it from the beginning of history.
It's working.
Is to give a narrative about somebody going around saying America first when everything he did in his life up until the point where he decided to say that was not America first. He was hiring all of these these foreigners, undocumented people to work at his resorts. All of his stuff, his daughter's stuff was all made in China. Like nothing about him says America first, but he keeps saying it and people are adopting that, even though nothing he's doing is America first.
Well, I got to tell you, it's very likely that you're talking about our next president. Let me ask you this before I'm moving on from you, though. President Trump did survive, an assassin's bullet. A lot of folks are saying that the fact that he survived being shot like 50 Cent, the late Tupac who survived the first time, that this may resonate. In fact, Forbes magazine had an editorial with an article titled that him surviving being shot may help him resonate with the black community. Now we know they were suggesting that him selling shoes, him having felonies would make him also resonate with the black community. You think him getting popped at might help him get some black votes?
That is the type of propaganda and rhetoric that does spur uneducated people, and anybody who votes for a man because he sells some cheap shoes.
Them ain't cheap. Hold on, hang on. Before I'll let you continue. But he has a pair of shoes. Like my cousin who purchases tennis shoes for investment purposes, the Jordans and all that shit, sent me a copy. Apparently Trump has a pair of high tops that show him with the hand, with the fist up right after that happened, and he's selling them for $300 a pair.
Yeah, that's like just appealing to the lowest denominator of a human being to say I support you because that's like me. He's saying I love Kanye West because people liked his gym shoes. Like that's like what people are those people even voters? The people that he's appealing to, the younger African American man who is concerned with materialism, they don't even vote.
Yeah.
And if there's a big registration drive in inner cities amongst young black males, I'd like to see it because I think people are just talking about.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people in all of this stuff, but some people is not voting.
All right.
They don't vote.
I will say this though, even if those young folks that may buy his shoes don't vote, they're still donating $300 to this campaign. To have somebody who ain't even young enough to vote purchasing obviously overinflated sneakers. I mean, obviously those sneakers are nowhere near worth $300. So yeah, he can't vote, but he just contributed $300 to my campaign. That's still huge. I gotta move it on though, Dencal. You know what I gotta do. Appreciate you coming through. Thank you. Moving on with the program, by the way. Damn lie. We voting, fool, says Bumpy Lump. Well, my last call is pointing out that there may be 14, 15-year-olds getting their hands on a pair of Trump shoes. I was about to say J6ers. Some people call his shoes the January 6ers or something like that. But yeah, I mean, they're not all voting. That's the point being made. By the way, I mean, at $300 a pop, I like political paraphernalia. I mean, I got President Obama's cup with his birth certificate on the side of it. I buy a lot of political stuff. I have the Bad Built Butch Body t-shirt I purchased from that congresswoman. I'd buy, I consider buying a pair of Trump shoes because over time they would become an artifact. They may actually increase in value. I'd be, I'm not opposed to buying something like that, but I do understand a lot of you folks have a different opinion. Anyway, looking in the comments, and I see Tech Talk says that's funny as fuck. All right, who cares if your community? Oh, somebody stated that nobody has those shoes on in their community, in my community, rather say. And I tend to believe that you're not going to go roaming around the hood with a pair of Trump shoes on safely. You're not going to go roaming around the hood with a pair of Trump shoes on safely. I mean, you may, if you go walking through the hood with Trump shoes on, you'll invite every Leroy Zimmerman to follow you around. I'm using Leroy instead of George Zimmerman in the George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin saga. You'll invite all the Leroy Zimmermans to follow you around throughout the night. Like you are, Trayvon, if you're walking around in a pair of Trump shoes in the hood. Looking in the comments, I live in a small white town all Republican, and no one rocks Trump gear. Shout out to Jason Aldean. You live in a small town. Brittany Peabody. All right, so depends on where you live in. What small town? You live in a small white town that's all Republican, and no one rocks Trump gear. What about the MAGA signs, Trump 2024? Do you see any of those things? Going back to the box, Deshaun Zimmerman. I like that one. It could be some LaQuisha Zimmermans out there too. DJ Julio, the one and only. Appreciate you coming through. DJ Julio, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. And you could be the perfect guy, Julio. I'm sure I know where you're going to go with it. But am I reaching in regards to the fact that Biden reached out to the widow to offer her condolences and she wouldn't take the call? What say you?
I don't disagree with her. I mean, if she and her husband weren't fans of Biden, their condolences, you know, I would feel that they were ingenuous.
Why would they?
Disingenuous?
If the man didn't give a damn about you, he wouldn't call you. He don't have to call you and play games. I mean,
well, he called to put positive optics in his campaign. That's all that was. He didn't reach out because he gave a shit.
Do you think any liberal would really hold Biden accountable if he didn't reach out to MAGA?
No.
So where are the positive optics coming from?
There is no positive optics for
right.
Her
So why did he reach out to her then?
Because she didn't. That's what I'm saying. They didn't come, Tim, because she didn't answer the phone.
Is there any chance? You give me your answer. Is there any chance at all that maybe Biden felt genuine concern over the woman losing her husband and reached out to express that? Is that possible at all?
I would say that I don't think that he's a heartless son of a bitch. I think that he cares if life is happening or if death is happening. I'm sure he gave a crap, but reaching out to a family to say, I'm sorry to hear for your loss on Biden's part, he should have done what Trump did and got behind the GoFundMe thing along with him and Kid Rock and a couple other people that donated huge to that.
So what about the notion that Trump didn't reach out to Nancy Pelosi when her husband was damn near killed? I mean, what happened to Trump is far, far less than what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband. Do you think that Trump should have reached out to her?
Absolutely not. I think that he was fine by not.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, she's the House Speaker. She was at the time she was in control of Congress. Her husband has a near-death experience, and you believe the president shouldn't reach out to her at all?
I don't. I wouldn't have reached out to her. I mean, shit. She ripped up the State of the Union. She was never a positive politician for him.
Wow. Okay. So you're holding grudges then?
I'm not holding grudges. I'm just calling it what it is.
You're bringing up a ripped up speech. In times of somebody passing away and dying, you're bringing up that they ripped up a speech of yours.
But he didn't die. He just got his butt kicked.
Really bad. I mean, he was hospitalized for quite a while. They broke his skull.
I mean, shit happens when you open your mouth the wrong way.
Whoa. So do you believe what happened to Trump the other day was based on shit happens when you open your mouth the wrong way?
Yeah, he spoke bad about the swamp, and the swamp don't like it. That's why, you know my opinion on this. I don't think for a second that young man did this just because he had a wild hair up his ass, or he decided he wanted to make a name for himself. I mean,
I don't know why.
I would just say start watching bank records, because it's he did it for something. I mean, you don't go up on a roof like that in a place like that and expect to get out of there alive. I mean, he had to have known that after he took his first shot, that would be the last time he would ever hold a gun. Well,
normally I would agree with you, because what you're saying sounds very much logical. However, we've had so many folks under the age of 25 commit mass casualty events, knowing that the outcome would be exactly what you just said would happen if you go after a president, that I do believe at this point it could have been somebody that was just a lone wolf. If you're willing to go and take out a whole supermarket or a Walmart, the outcome is really not going to be any different than trying to take out a president. And we know there's been young guys doing that all over the country.
Yeah, you know, real quick, that comment where whatever his butt just said, let me find it. That was just the most.
Well, while you're finding that comment, I'll give you another one.
APGH.
That's the same person. That's the same person I'm looking at.
You are the most ignorant person I have seen on Tim's live. You absolutely suck as a human being.
And the name looks like it says Appman or something. He says that boy is a hero. The 20-year-old that tried to take out Trump is a hero. Now, I'm going to tell you, Julio, I have had people tell me, people close to me, family members, telling me they wish he had been successful.
Yeah, and that's absolutely disgusting. You don't belong in America. You believe in political violence. You believe in murder. You are absolutely evil. You don't belong here.
Now, let me ask you this, though. What is the difference between someone celebrating that 20-year-old versus somebody that favored what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband, made light of it, made fun of it? What's the difference between those two?
One was an ass whooping, one was almost death.
No, the ass whooping, the goal of that ass whooping was death. He wasn't trying to whip his ass. He was trying to take his life.
I think he was trying to get into their house and he got caught by the husband, is what I remember.
Julio, he's striking the person with a hammer. Is that not a lethal attack?
I mean, yeah, you're right.
So what's the difference?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that either. And there were some things that were said, you know, by Trump that I didn't agree with during that process. You know, I don't think any of this political violence going after political people. I mean, fuck, they're voted in by the people, and then you go and try to hurt them or kill them. Or unalive them. Sorry, I'll watch my mouth TikTok. I apologize. I don't think any of it's good, Tim. I know I do not like Biden. Not necessarily. No, I don't even like him as a person, really. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like the child sniffing. I don't like any of that shit. But I would be heartbroken if the same thing happened to him.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at, and I see in the comments on YouTube, Babette Lynn says there is no difference between that and this. I'm asking that point that you mentioned one of my viewers suggesting that 20-year-old's a hero. You essentially refer to him as a piece of shit. But what I'm asking you is, when Trump made fun of Nancy Pelosi almost losing her husband, how do you view that?
I told you already. I don't agree with it. I think it's nasty. I think it's stupid. So
his comment was indeed along the realms of a piece of shit as well.
Yeah, you know, and sometimes I'd love to see these keyboard warriors and just talk to them face to face and, you know, handle it South Dakota's ways.
What do you mean, like pump oil?
Piece of shit. Huh?
What do you mean, like pump oil?
Yeah, a little bit about that.
All right, I'm just checking.
It's just absolutely nasty, Tim, that some people can think that what happened on Saturday was a good thing.
No, I agree with you 100%.
It's scary that people would think that what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband was a good thing. It's both of them are equally shit.
But have you ever heard of the phrase negative energy or bad vibes?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. The point I'm making is, if you can get up there and make fun of some woman's husband that was beaten about the head with a hammer, you do realize if something happened to you, people are going to cheer it on. They're not going to have a lot of sympathy for you because of what you did. That's what happens when you put out bad vibes or negative energy into the universe.
I do not disagree with that. I do not disagree with that. There's going to be some people that are going to open their mouth, and on both sides of the fence, whether it was Nancy's husband or Donald Trump. If you open your mouth up like that around me, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, but we're not talking about some people. We're talking about Trump himself, the guy that is wrong, the guy that it is wrong to celebrate an attempt on his life. We're talking about him. It's wrong to say that about him, but we are admitting he had no problem doing that to somebody else who also faced an attempt on their life.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I told you that. I said that from the beginning when you brought it up the first time. I don't agree with what he said. I don't agree the way that he handled it. Him and Nancy's husband probably have closed door arguments. They probably have a relationship out of the public light that we don't see. He probably didn't care too much for him. He probably wasn't too worried about his ass whooping. He survived. I mean,
he survived a lot. He survived in much worse condition than Trump too.
Oh, definitely agree. Definitely agree.
And I believe he is.
Disagree. I do not disagree. I do not agree with the way Trump handled that when it did go down. I sat back and was like, come on, man, really?
Yeah.
But again, I don't know their relationship outside of politics.
Well, it doesn't. I don't know what their relationship is either. But no matter how much I don't like someone, I'm not going to celebrate somebody trying to take their life unless they did something really, really bad to me specifically. And I believe her husband is even older than Trump. So to make fun of a guy that old getting hit with a hammer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, we don't have to beat that dead horse. I've said it a million times. I agree that should have never been said.
Yeah.
And, maybe in some people's eyes, Trump is a piece of shit. Maybe in some eyes, Biden's a piece of shit. Do either one of those people or their families or their friends' families deserve to get shot at? Not at all.
No, and I agree with that. But I'm just simply saying this is what happens when you put bad vibes and negative energy in the universe. It comes back to you. I mean, you shouldn't have all of that in your history so that when somebody does try to hurt you, people are not celebrating. But the fact that we can bring up Nancy Pelosi's husband, that should not be there. That should not have happened.
No, it shouldn't. I agree. It shouldn't be there, and going forward, I mean, I don't know how much of the RNC you've been watching, but, there's something different about Trump. The way that he holds himself, the way that he's
100%.
talking himself, the way that he's I mean, just the looks on his face, in some of those interviews, during some of those speeches. I mean, he looks like a different person, and he looks like he's been humbled a little bit.
I was asking that too because he invited Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis to speak, changed his schedule to be there, and you notice he hasn't really been critical of Joe Biden at all since that happened. He hasn't been on the internet saying anything. So do you think it's possible that maybe he's been humbled or maybe even has PTSD?
I took a bullet. You can't see it in the camera, but I took a bullet in the face. Grazed me.
Damn. Wow, was you wearing a MAGA hat?
I wish, because I would have been older and I probably would have been a lot better.
The last guy I saw that happen to was wearing a MAGA hat. I'm just wondering.
Good.
Wow.
No, I was young, dumb, running with the wrong crowds, did some stupid shit. I told you I ain't always been a good guy. And this is where my perspective comes from. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've lived a shit life, and now I live a good life. I lived, didn't care about your life, and now I care about your life. Whoever you are next to me.
So you were putting out bad. You were putting out.
It's a humbling experience, and there's a little PTSD that goes through with it. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And that was a result, you're saying, of you personally putting out bad vibes and negative energy into the universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Julio. I think we're on the same page. And certainly, I see a difference in Trump too. I don't know if it's gonna last a long time, but I see it too. Appreciate you coming on.
And here's the thing: is when he gets a chance to get in there and right the wrongs of himself and those before him, America will change their view, in my opinion, on him.
But the abortion laws and the giving cops immunity, I don't know about that, Julio. I don't know.
I don't think immunity is going to be a big talk anymore, and I don't think abortion is going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. I mean, if it goes down to circumstances only, when they put a bill together, if they put a bill together that gives men the right, and I know where this is going to go, but please don't do it until I'm done. If they give men the right to sign a piece of paper and walk away from that pregnancy, then women have full right. You get to choose it already. Now, I understand men do get women pregnant, and they do, escape, and they don't pay their child support, and now the woman's left to be a single mother, and she can chase them for all their life. Eventually they're not going to be able to drive and might go to jail for child support. But if sex and creating a baby is a two-person job, then deciding not to have a child needs to be a two-person job, in my opinion. I've recently talked to my mother and my brother after this happened with Trump. They're both strong Democrats, and now understand how dangerous the situation is, that Trump is really going to flip the script on people far enough that they want to shoot him. So in my best guess, they're voting Trump now.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they're like, if they're after him that bad, if they want him gone that bad, he must have something on him.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I got to move it on, Julio. I'll explain it on the other side, but to me, that doesn't make sense. But I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you for your support. Always. All right. And the reason what I was saying, because he's basically saying what I've heard a lot of MAGAs say, that if they're after Trump to the point where they're pinning court cases on him, and as he said, trying to take Trump's life, there must be something to this guy. So I'm going to vote for him because he must have a bunch of stuff on people. So the reason I disagree with that stuff is because of this. And maybe somebody wants to shoot him because they just think he's a bad guy. It got nothing to do with maybe he's a good guy and people want to take out a good guy. Maybe they actually think he's a bad guy. So I don't buy that. If you lean left and you have left-wing democratic principles, him being mistreated by the government or some assassin is going to make you vote for him. And I'll give the same example I give on every damn show when this comes up. Let's say you got Nancy Pelosi running for president. You know what she stands for. If the system was railroading her, and MAGA was 100% absolutely certain the charges were all bullshit, and Nancy Pelosi gave a speech in public and someone tried to take her out, MAGA's not going to vote for her because of that. You're not going to switch from conservative traditional values to Nancy Pelosi because the system is mistreating her or somebody tried to take a swipe at her. So I don't know why folks believe it's going to work in the other direction. If you're on the left and you completely disagree with the direction Trump is talking about for America, his court cases ain't going to do a damn thing in regards to your decision on who you're picking. That makes no sense at all. And I'll tell you, in addition to simply hearing my explanation of it, and maybe typing in the comments about how much you think what I'm saying is bullshit. And by the way, I invite dissenting opinion. I don't censor anyone. So feel free to insert criticism where you may. You have a right to do that here. But the idea that people are going to switch voters, as I stated, Nancy Pelosi's husband got hit in the head with a hammer. How many MAGA thought, well, damn, maybe we need to rethink our position on her? I would also submit to you, every single time Trump faced legal adversity, whether it was the raiding of his home, the arrest and indictments over and over again, the mugshot, the conviction of 34 felonies, every time one of these events happened, Trump supporters were saying, see, you've now secured the election for Trump. He's definitely going to win. But go back and look at the polls, even the right-wing polls. Look at them after each one of those events. If each one of those represented a guarantee that they're handing the election to Trump, he should be ahead by 20 points. Even the far-right polls don't put him ahead by that much. So clearly some of those events didn't move the needle very much. He should be way ahead. If each one of those events guaranteed he has won the election now, because the liberals won't leave him alone, he should be ahead by double digits. He's ahead, no denying. But he ain't ahead by, it ain't like it is completely a loss for Biden. He's not ahead by that much. So the idea that this stuff has switched so many voters over, the polls don't reflect that. The polls probably are more critical of Biden for that horrible debate performance. Looking in the box, Trump will win by a landslide, say it's Jay Pettis. Well, he said he won the last election by a landslide, so we'll see. Oh my God. Jimmy says the real Biden was taken out in 2016. It's an actor in a mask. Okay. Trump got big campaign funds now. Yeah, Eric B. I mean, Bloomberg ran for, I think, mayor of New York or governor of New York. He had big campaign funds. Having a lot of money don't always make a difference. I mean, the Democratic nominee and the Republican nominee for president are always going to have big funds. There's really only two different people you can vote for in our current system. So you're going to have a ton of money, no matter what. Having money don't mean anything. I'm assuming Hillary Clinton had a ton of money. John Kerry, Al Gore, Mitt Romney, John McCain, they all had a ton of money. What happened to them? Having a ton of money don't always guarantee anything. Going back to the box, we'll continue the program, moving it on with Robert Bailey. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Robert Bailey. Asking that question, is Trump a changed man? I think I brought up political tick. Okay. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Do you see Trump as a changed man since that horrible event last weekend?
I haven't seen enough of him or heard enough from him during the RNC convention to make up my mind one way or
yeah, but he hasn't been online. You haven't heard of any controversial statements for almost a week. That's a long time for Trump.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see the speech. I heard that he rewrote his speech for this after that event. So, we'll see. I'm pretty good at reading someone's bullshit meter and seeing, if he's. I think most people are in this day and age. Yeah. But anyhow, I initially got on because you were talking about J.D. Vance, and that's when I got in the box.
What's your point? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think on J.D. Vance, I think he's 100% right that not necessarily all of the blame lies at Joe Biden's feet, but certainly the Democrat Party and the mainstream media, 100%. I mean, there's absolutely no denying it. I mean, I actually made a stitch to one of your videos that initiated this conversation because I was a little frustrated. I used to follow you under American Outlaw, and it just seems like...
That ain't me. Wait a minute. That's not me. I've never used the name American Outlaw. That's somebody else.
No, me. I followed you.
Okay. All right, keep going.
Yeah. So anyways, it was a little frustrating because I had been getting into your box lately. It just seemed like you were focusing on leftist subscribers to your channel. So I'm glad to be back on here. Anyhow, that being said, with the whole J.D. Vance thing, I don't know if you're familiar with the Columbia University study that they did in July of 2023, but researchers found that people who are left-leaning through their ideology or liberal in their ideology suffer from far worse mental illness and far worse depression as a result of only focusing on social justice warrior issues all the time. And if you've got the mainstream media, who is no doubt left-leaning, largely speaking, telling you that Donald Trump and the MAGA movement is a threat, an existential threat to American democracy for 8 years, that's all you hear. It doesn't take much of that for an unstable person to be pushed over the edge and think that they're coming through and somehow going to save the world from a future Schmittler in that situation. I mean, look at the 4 years under Joe Biden. He came out in an ominous blood red background with Marines flanking him, in an ominous tone telling American people that MAGA Republicans are a threat to democracy. You've had every single Democrat politician doing the same thing on the mainstream media.
So what's the difference though? If the left is saying that Trump is a threat to democracy and Trump is saying that the left hates America, what's the difference?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
If the left is saying that Trump is a threat to democracy, but Trump is saying that the left hates America, what's the difference in the rhetoric?
I don't think that he said, so the policies and the ideology seems to indicate that what Trump says is true, and it resonates with people who support Trump and support his policies. And he talks about take our country back.
Wait. So really what you're basically saying, the only difference between Trump's rhetoric and the rhetoric coming from the left is I agree with Trump's rhetoric and I think the left is wrong.
No, what I'm saying is you don't have a false narrative being propagated by the media who people
hate America is not a false what you really believe most liberals hate America?
Well, you would have to in order to prop up this administration. Either that or you have to be extremely ignorant about the things that face America, that most people who understand the problems that face America fully respect and endorse Trump's policies. If you look around the globe right now, and I don't want to hijack your live and take... You're doing
a good job. Don't worry about that. We don't censor. Keep going.
Yeah, I don't want to go on a long rant, but you can look around the globe right now, and I can give you actual Trump policy, actual Trump agenda that is the reason why the Middle East wasn't on fire, was the reason why there wasn't a big war between Ukraine and Russia, which is the reason why there wasn't a Palestinian-Israel conflict in the way that there is right now. All of these things are a direct
what we're talking about, just to get clarity, so you do believe the policies and ideology of the left leads you to believe that a large portion of them hate America?
If they don't hate America, which those that lean left are totally against America's founding principles.
Give me an example of something that the left believes in or often says.
If you go far enough left, you end up in communism. Nowhere in
What if you go far enough right? What happens if you go far enough right? Where are you at?
You could end up in fascism.
Right. So what's the difference?
Neither one are good for this country.
Right. So give me an example of the left that leads you to believe. Give me something the left promotes that gives you evidence that they hate America.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make. It's either they hate America or they're ignorant about the threats that America's faced, and therefore they're just a pawn in a bigger scheme.
Yeah, but give me a specific example of something the left promotes that leads people to believe they hate the country.
The idea that they would want to move us towards a socialist agenda for this country tells me that they hate this country and what it stands for.
Why can't you simply believe that? And I don't agree with this, but why can't you just simply believe a socialist agenda is better for people who can't afford housing, can't afford Medicare? Maybe they believe that does promoting a socialist agenda equate to hating the country?
Absolutely. You hate the capitalist agenda that this country all right. There's a reason why the U.S. dollar is the #1 reserve currency in the world. And it's not going to stay like that for long. The BRICS nations are threatening the American dollar right now. Most Americans couldn't even tell you what that acronym stands for, which is sad. But they're going to go out and cast their vote with people who are going to dictate policy that's ultimately going to impact all of us. So, you
do realize everybody in this country is not benefiting from capitalism. You do realize capitalism also has victims too, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does. But when you have a government in place with as much bureaucracy and tied up into it, and as much of our tax dollars being wasted on an annual basis, that can not necessarily free up a socialist agenda. Like, I'm not saying reallocate the funds. I'm saying lower our taxes and use our taxes that we do provide the government for things that benefit us here at home, not social.
Give me some examples of things that benefit us at home. If they freed up money, let's say they stopped helping the Ukraine, they stopped sending money to Israel or weapons to Israel. What at home do you believe that money should be done to? Who do you think it should help out?
So truly, like if you look at Dwight Eisenhower, he built the international highway system in 5 years, and it takes them 5 years to patch a couple holes now. But there are things that they could do to our infrastructure, and that the infrastructure bill that Biden passed. Please point to me. It's been 2 years now since that passed Congress, roughly. Please point to me a major piece of infrastructure that's been changed or modernized to the 21st century. It has.
There's a lot of. It depends on where you're at. Political TikTok. Right? Certain people would tell you we've had bridges built. Money's been. FEMA money where people was having hurricanes and natural disasters. There are people that can tell you where they've benefited. Maybe you haven't. Maybe your area hasn't. But there are people that. But let me say this before you continue. If a person is homeless, cannot afford health care, or is hurting financially, building a bridge or a road doesn't do a damn thing for them.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I'm trying to say that I think is being missed here. Either you're doing it intentionally or you're just not understanding what I'm saying. But either way, I'll try to explain it again. If you eliminate high taxes, you eliminate all of the regulation, which Trump tried to do, and he did pass something where for every new piece of regulation, 2 have to go away, which we saw a boom in entrepreneurship when he did that, because regulation is a job killer. Regulation sends jobs to foreign countries for cheap labor. So if we lower taxes, if we deregulate, if we do things that are beneficial to the actual middle class here in America, there's no need for a socialist agenda, because people can afford to provide for themselves and to work with their communities to provide for one another. There's no need for that. whatsoever.
Okay, fair. I'll just say this: during the Trump administration, there's no denying it. During part of his administration, certainly before the pandemic, groceries were cheaper. Things were cheaper at the pump. I'm not saying it necessarily was his doing, but things were cheaper. However, people weren't making a whole lot of money doing. A lot of folks make it sound like under Biden they're living under a rock, and under Trump they were living in a mansion. Me personally, I have not seen that great of a difference in my life. People really make it sound like we are really, really struggling under Biden, and we were really, really prospering under Trump. And the average American I talk to doesn't recite it that way. Yeah, groceries were cheaper. I can fill my tank up a bit, but it ain't like I went out and had to get rid of a whole, 6-bedroom house and move back in with my mom. It ain't that big of a difference that I'm seeing.
Me neither. Personally, I'm not one of the Trump supporters who's saying that I'm being impacted in such a negative way. We're all in different chapters in our life. We all have different dynamics in our family. And there are some people in this country, because of the things you named that are up higher now, that are impacted. And it is the difference of what are they going to pay this week or what are they going to put on table. That doesn't apply to maybe me or you, but certainly.
But that applied to people during the Trump administration. It's not like America did not have people who were poor, struggling, having to work 2 jobs to get by when Trump was in office. Trump brags about creating jobs and having the lowest unemployment rate at the time, like 3.5%. One thing Trump never bragged about is the salaries have went up. So just making sure people are working doesn't guarantee a damn thing. You created millions of jobs. It might be minimum wage jobs. That don't mean anything. Certainly if you're not in favor of raising minimum wage, giving them health care, helping them out with college or anything else.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but there's unintended consequences by raising the minimum wage, and Biden only did that at the federal level, so that has had no impact. But if you're looking around the country and you're looking at jobs that weren't ever intended to be long-term career jobs unless you were moving into a management position, you can look at those companies and they're fleeing those areas, like fast food restaurants that raise the minimum wage. I believe in California, I think in Seattle, a few others that raise it to 15, they're shutting down their business, or they're hiking up prices, because that's intended as a summer job or a job for a fresh graduate of high school or a college student. It wasn't intended to be a career.
Yeah, but I gotta push back. Anytime we talk about raising the minimum wage, the $15 minimum wage argument comes up, everybody reverts to burger flipper. If you go back during the Trump administration and the push to raise minimum wage during the time Trump was in office, do you realize how many jobs in America paid less than $15 an hour? It wasn't just burger flippers. It was CNAs, it was teacher assistants, school bus drivers, factory workers, security guards. Some of them were career jobs. Some of them are career. It ain't just burger flippers.
Yeah, some of them are
career. A lot of them.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm not just trying to pinpoint that, but you can see the negative consequences of raising the federal minimum wage.
And there's no consequence to keeping it the same for 20 years.
It's absolutely it should have been raised.
All right.
Period. But when you go from 735 up to 15, so more than 100% increase that fast, if you think that's not going to compound inflation, you have a very low understanding of how the economy works.
Right, and if you keep it the same for 20 years, you have the same lack of understanding. The right, even under Trump, when Trump took office in 2016, at that time, minimum wage had already been the same for about 10 damn years, and they were still fighting to keep it the same. You talk about lack of understanding of an economy, there you go. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I would just say that for anybody who is on the fence in this election, your choice is simple. If you want a better life for your family, you'll vote for Trump. If you want to look back 20 years from now with regret, you'll vote for Biden. So do whichever one you see as being beneficial to you, and don't hate on somebody who don't agree with you.
All right, good conversation, political TikTok. Come on back anytime. Real quick, 2 super chats. And by the way, when he said you should vote for Trump versus Biden because it's better for your family or whatever, I got to tell you, it really depends on what's going on in your family. Maybe you got a daughter that was sexually assaulted and she's pregnant. You think voting for Trump is going to be in her best interest? Maybe you got a son that is coming out as transgender. You think voting for... So it really depends on what's going on in your family. I'm assuming my last caller was speaking from a purely economic, financial standpoint. A lot of folks believe that Trump is better at the economy than Biden. But a lot of people ain't voting just on money. There are other concerns. 2 super chats. Gen X. Yeah, thank you for the hat and mustache there, RP. Gen X says Trump literally tore up an RNC speech for Thursday, saying that it was way too divisive and that he wanted to push unity and not division amongst Americans. I actually do believe that Trump has had an epiphany of sorts for 2 reasons. One being obvious. The Secret Service can't protect your ass always. There's one thing when you feel like you're God. There's another thing when you realize you can be touched. He didn't get taken out. He got touched. And now he realizes having these rallies outside, being big and bad and talking shit all the time may not go my way. Even with all of these armed people around me, they still found a way to touch my ass. So that may have caused Trump to have an epiphany. Mowgli. Trump is the first president since Hoover to leave office with higher unemployment than he came in. Thank you for the super chat, Mowgli and Gen X. To be fair in regards to Trump, we did have a pandemic. So if you take Trump's unemployment numbers, let's say late 2019, because that's when the pandemic was kicking in, I don't think his unemployment numbers would have been anywhere near that bad. So I don't know if it's fair to take his unemployment numbers into consideration when everything is closed down. But I understand if the shoe was on the other foot, Trump would be talking about Biden's unemployment numbers under the same situation. Going back to the box, what did it say something about there? You prefer sniffing Biden, says, before I go to the box, I don't get why a lot of folks that support Trump try to, criticize Biden with the suggestion that he's sniffing children. And he does appear to do that. But sometimes it's difficult to criticize somebody when you got an image of yourself in the mirror. For instance, me, I'd have a hell of a time calling somebody black as hell due to the fact that I'm dark myself. Trump has a hellified history to bring up Biden sniffing children. Say what you want about Epstein, he was at the very least friends with the guy. I mean, he's on TV saying he would be dating his own daughter if she wasn't related to him. I don't believe, in defense of Trump, it makes sense to bring up the Bidens. If it was Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis or somebody, fine. But when your candidate of choice is Trump, bringing up controversial sexual issues make no sense to me. Not to mention a court of law found him liable for it just doesn't make any sense. You notice these counterpoints are going to come up, and there's a lot of them. So that doesn't make sense to me. Stick with the economy or something like that. I mean, this is too easy to rebut or push back on. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Jay Willie. Good afternoon, Jay Willie.
What's up, my friend?
Not much at all. What am I getting wrong here? But do you see maybe where Trump maybe has decided he needs to tone it down a little bit?
As far as what? As tone, I mean, all he does is tell the truth. I mean, that's all he does.
You think Nikki Haley? You think Nikki? When he said Nikki,
nobody wants to hear the truth. Nobody, because it hurts their feelings or it makes them upset. They don't want to hear it.
So when
they want to live in fairyland.
So when he called Nikki Haley a bird brain, you believe that was the truth?
She absolutely, because she was sitting there talking shit about him the whole fucking time she was trying to debate, and now she's kissing his ass. So I mean, none of them people mean shit to Trump. None of them. I mean, what if you was a billionaire? Would you give a fuck about this country? I mean, seriously, would you give a fuck about anybody else?
So
if
you
was a billionaire,
so you're saying
anything you wanted to do, any day, you got the money to do it.
So you're saying that? Hold on, hang on. Did you call to talk to me or just talk?
No. I couldn't talk to you.
All right. So you're saying that Trump, because he's a billionaire, he doesn't give a fuck about America?
Yeah, he does. But when he got in, the Democrats fought him every damn step of the way. Every step they try to block this or no, we ain't doing that. I mean, for the whole 4 years, you know that. And you believe that when Obama was in office, the Republicans were friendly to him and just worked with him? Obama was the worst mistake. That ain't what I asked you. That ain't what I asked you, though. Yeah, but he is. He is. Do you believe that when Bill Clinton got in office, the Republicans just worked with him? Was Antifa or Black Lives Matter or anything before Obama? I don't know if they're anything. Did they exist before Obama? I'm not sure they really exist to any great degree now. But you didn't hear about them before Obama, right? Well, Black Lives Matter we didn't hear about because Black Lives Matter at the time was probably hands up, don't shoot, or I can't breathe. Black Lives Matter is only the same thing it's always been, believing that the cops are mistreating minorities. You can go back 70 years. They didn't call themselves Black Lives Matter, but the same message exists. Just like MAGA is nothing but the Tea Party. It's just a different name. So I could say the Democrats are still the Dixiecrats. Could I not say that? No, you couldn't say that. Why couldn't I say that? Where did the Dixiecrats? Where did the Dixiecrats? The Triple K, is it not? Where did the Dixiecrats start at? Did the Democrats start the Triple K? Yes. Okay then. Why would any black person vote Democrat when they started a party to silence your vote? Not no white people, not no Indian people, not nobody else. Only people they mess with was black people. They did not want y'all to vote. And y'all still, I'm not saying you, I'm saying there's a lot of black people that still manipulated, and Democrats has got their foot on their fucking neck and will not fucking get off. You want an answer to that? Why would black people vote Democrat when the Democratic Party started the KKK? Tell me. They can see. They can see when they go to a Democratic gathering, they see black people on stage. They see black people promoted to Supreme Court, vice president. The last Democratic president was black. And when they go to a Republican gathering, it's all white. They can see. That's why they're doing it. Okay. And the black community is what, 12% of the population? And they are 12% of the population, and they're greater than that in the Democratic Party. There, baby. That's your answer right there. That's your answer. No. If you got a room of 100 people and 90 of them are white and 10 of them black, it ain't because there was 100 black people over here and 100 white people over here. It wasn't like that. There was more white people here when this country started. Right. But I don't think you heard my answer because you started kind of talking over me. I've been to Trump. I've been to Trump rallies. I've been to Obama rallies. Haven't been to anything for Biden. But I'll tell you this. You're right about blacks only representing 12 to 14% of the population. However, blacks represent more than 12% of the Democratic Party and less than 12% of the Republican Party. They can see. I got you. Man, I got on live the other day, right? And they told me that America was built by black hands, okay? And America has flourished because of black people. If that was the case, why ain't Africa looking like America? What? Why is not Africa built up like America? What are you talking about? I don't get that. I don't understand what you're talking about. All right. Do you believe that the majority of black people built America as far as damn buildings, corporations, skyscrapers, bridges, roads, all that.
No, because the Chinese helped build the railroads. I mean, every immigrant group that came to this country. I tell you one thing. I'm not going to say that black people built America. What I am going to say is white people probably had the least hand in it, because it was all these immigrant groups that is known for doing stuff. It ain't just black people, but the white people are the ones that probably had the managerial roles and did the least amount of the work.
Right. Them motherfuckers was in an office,
right?
And they had workers.
And the odd thing is, yeah, but the odd thing is, a lot of white people in this country refer to all the other groups that did the labor as being the lazy people, when you're admitting they were in an office handing out instructions.
But I've heard you say that white people have got more initiative, have got more drive. I've heard this.
You heard me say that?
Yes, sir. I have heard you say this. Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't recall saying more initiative and drive in what area?
In life. In life. Wanting shit. You know what I'm saying? Wanting, you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
I'm a diesel mechanic, right?
Okay.
I didn't even finish fucking high school.
Okay.
I make over
You're making it easy on my audience, but keep going.
Right. So tell me, how am I making that good of money with no education? Tell me that.
There is a such thing as luck.
No, sir. It's skill. I learned a skill a long time ago.
Okay.
I learned it and got very good at it.
Okay.
That's why I still do it, because I'm invested. I got probably over $120,000 worth of toolbox and tools. I'm not asking the government to pay that shit back, just like a student loan. You don't hear me crying about, goddamn, I need the government to help me. The only motherfucker that can help Jason is Jason. That is it. That is it.
Oh my God. Gen Xer on YouTube, one of my supporters on the program, wants me to ask you if you have he's MAGA. I'm prefacing this, but he wants me to ask you, Jay Willie, if you have a good moonshine recipe for him.
Yes, sir.
You guys are crazy.
Absolutely. Hey, man, we can go down by the creek. We can make moonshine. I can grow you the most potent bud that you ever smoked. I love smoking weed. Love smoking.
Oh, that is a fun.
That's because I am self-efficient. You hear me? I don't have to go buy this shit.
Hang on, I'm still laughing. Oh my God.
Hold on. Can you go out and make your own liquor? Can you do that?
I don't drink alcohol, but no, I can't.
But can you make it to sell?
No.
Okay.
No.
Can you grow marijuana? Can you grow it to where it is fucking prime?
No, I can't.
Can you do that?
No, I can't.
Okay, so that's the difference between you and I, sir. That I've showed initiative. I learned shit over the fucking years, and I brought it with me. I give it to my children. They're grown. They out there working. They don't steal. They don't fucking do no crimes. They damn live their life as peaceful as they can. But best believe, I both of my children.
All right,
I taught them how to shoot. If they need to protect themselves, they can. I promise you.
All right, Jay Willie, I do got to move it on. Look, I got folks I got folks listening. Like, I'll subscribe if it brings you on every day. So you're always welcome back.
Please, man, I love talking to you. Love it.
It's been a pleasure. You have given me humor like no other. I appreciate you coming through.
I love everybody just like I love myself. You know what I mean? But the only one that's going to take care of me is me, because you're not going to do it.
But you know, in regards to you loving everybody like you love yourself, I want to point out Pornhub has been taken off the web, so understand that. I got to move it on. All right, moving the program on. So no blacks or other minorities are doing the same thing he's doing from a job perspective. That's a great pushback or comeback, Jay Roeder. Yeah, there's a lot of African Americans that are very successful in highly skilled mechanics. I mean, I'm from the south side of Chicago. Every mechanic I've dealt with was an African American. And I mean, even some of the shade tree mechanics that do not even have the official certification, because if you come from where I come from, you probably take your car to somebody's crib more than you do an actual mechanic, certainly when you're struggling financially. So yeah, there's plenty of blacks that make money, good money, being even an alley mechanic. Looking in the comments though, somebody says not in California. I can't speak in regards to that. Then you cut them off. LG, I give people at least a good solid 5 minutes. The man certainly got his point across. He wasn't cut off. So exactly what is a black job, as Trump asked? Well, I don't have an answer for what are black jobs, but I gotta assume he's not talking about Kamala Harris or Natasha Brown on the Supreme Court, or, you know, Letitia James, the lead prosecutor in New York. I'm think Fonnie Willis in Georgia. I'm assuming he's not talking about those positions. When he says when Trump says their immigrants are competing for black jobs, it's low skill, low wages, low paying jobs. It is what it is. What are the jobs immigrants mostly do? And that's a really good point as well. Black power, love the name in the comments. And I'm going to point out, a lot of folks say it's racist because you can have a name like black power, but if a white guy has a name like white power, then they're up in arms. There is a legitimate claim to be made about that, but that's a whole different show. I just got my degree in corporate finance, but I'm over here working 60 hours a week for Amazon. Well, shit, I got a master's in business, and I'm out here speaking to you fine people. As one guy once said, you know, one day I'm living under a bridge, the next day I'm having dinner with you fine people. Shout out to Leonardo DiCaprio. But going back to the box, we'll continue the program on with Beard and Politics. Good afternoon. By the way, I haven't solicited. Tap the screen. We should be around 80,000 likes. Almost 900 of you folks in here. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Tap the screen. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, without anybody trying to block, ban, or censor you for your opinions, you're in the right place. Follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. Beard and Politics. Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Hey, good to have you on. So you heard my last caller. Did he get it right?
Oh man, there are some things I could say about that last caller. I think he means well. Don't get me wrong. I think that a lot of these guys mean well, but I think that there's an information gap.
Information gap. Explain.
I think that a lot of these guys miss out on the context of history, on the context of like race relations in America, how they're different from race relations in other countries. Like that dude straight up made an argument that black people are incapable of building civilizations.
He sure did. That's damn. When I hear you explain it that way, he sure did say that. Yeah. But I will tell you something though. If you don't really have a lot of experience, let's say with African countries, you will think it's like the old Susan Sarandon commercials where kids are laying around with bloated bellies and flies on their face. Our country does lead a lot of Americans to believe that is true, that black people live in their native countries. They live like animals.
Oh, absolutely. America has always been really good at building these really weird narratives about putting down these other countries. But I think that it's to sell this idea that we should be in these countries doing what we're doing or whatever while we're taking their resources,
Yeah. And now, do you subscribe to this? This is a comment in the comment section from Freebird. He states that last caller was racist and he may not even know it. Sad. Do you think there's any validity possibly to that?
Somewhat. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that a lot of these guys probably, understand that like the things that they say would be called racist, but they themselves just don't believe it to be because they to use a term that they probably use a lot is spade's a spade. They
calling it as he sees it.
Yeah, no matter what the opinion is, if I agree with it, it's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was.
It was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
So, in regards to the actual topic, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 50-year-old Corey Comparatori. not to butcher the name, but he was the one that lost his life at the Trump gathering, and Biden reached out to offer condolences to his widow, and she refused to take the call, stating that her late husband, was a devout Republican and would not want her talking to Biden. Why do you divisiveness in death? What leads to that?
So a lot of that, I think, has to do with a lot of the rhetoric in this country and the internet algorithms putting us all in these different information bubbles, right? So like, I don't have to hear something that I don't want to hear because I can curate my social media to do that. I go out of my way to hear this information. Yeah. But you don't always do that. And a lot of people don't understand that the algorithms are doing this to people. And so if they're only hearing things from their side of the aisle, well, that's reality. They've created their own reality. And these algorithms, intentional or not, are really good at that. And people know how to manipulate this algorithm in order to get people to subscribe to these ideals, right?
That is so true, because my first experience with TikTok, when you first start, you're just scrolling through and seeing people's pages. And I had a habit, I don't know why, but chicks that had a lot of fat on their torso, I was liking their pictures. You know, a chick with a big torso, yeah, fine, looks like maybe she bench presses 500 pounds, she got a big torso. So I clicked like. My whole FYP was a bunch of, cause my daughter grabs my phone like, man, you got a lot of big-chested women on. So I agree with you that the algorithm, they feed you what they think you want to see.
Yeah, because the algorithm isn't interested in what's true. The algorithm is interested in what generates likes and therefore generates income. And unfortunately, political division is very profitable. But a lot of that too, though, like I said, does come down to rhetoric. I think that Biden, as foolish as I believe he is to try and compromise with the current Republican administration, he does make the effort often to reach across the aisle and try to make these compromises. As foolish as I may personally find a lot of these attempts to be, you don't see that from the Republican side. You were talking to a guy earlier who was very poorly trying to say that the attempt on Paul Pelosi's life was somehow different from the attempt on Donald Trump's life. Right. Like, no, it's all political violence, and it's all done.
Well, the belief is that
the Republican rhetoric.
Yeah, the belief is that what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband was some kind of gay lovers quarrel or something like that. But as I point out oftentimes, even if it was, and I don't buy into that, but even if it was, there was an attempted murder of this guy. Why would you laugh about it? Even if it was a gay lover, where does the humor come into this at?
The humor just comes to, I think it's funny when my political opposition is threatened. I think it's funny when my political opposition has their lives taken from them. Like if Paul Pelosi, had been unalived, if that guy had gotten to Nancy Pelosi with that hammer, they would have been cheering about it. There was no way that they were going to be like, oh, our condolences to the Pelosi family. It was never going to happen. And again, that comes from this political divide that I'm mostly seeing from Republicans because Democrats seem to have this whole high road mentality, like Republicans go low, we go high, and so we're going to come out on top because of that, right? Truth always wins. But truth doesn't always win. We know from history that truth doesn't always win.
No kidding.
It's all the Republicans are really good about spinning narrative. The Republicans are amazing storytellers. I will give them that much. Like if Democrats had half the ability to tell a story like Republicans do about this country, then Republicans would never win an election.
I don't know. I think Obama was really good at storytelling. It's just Biden sucks at it. But
Obama was unique.
Yeah, let me ask you. Yeah, somewhat I agree. Let me ask you this though, because No Live Hill in the comments is saying, Tim, listening to your show further divides us. I don't want hate. Do you think what we're doing here, featuring political commentators from all the entire political spectrum, do you see what we're doing here is divisive?
I think that your show is one of the few things where we have an opportunity to bridge that divide. I think that what you do is unique in you're not bringing in 5-6 different people at a time to argue about something. Like, you're having one-on-one conversations, which I think is a lot easier to control, and I appreciate the way that you organize your show for that reason. But I think that for a lot of these people, whether it's on the MAGA side or the Democrat side, it's the first time that they're hearing a lot of these arguments actually coming from somebody who's voting, and not like an actual GOP politician. And a lot of the beliefs that I personally, hear from a lot of the MAGA crowd, a lot of the beliefs that I hear on your show do scare me. But I think that people being exposed to these conversations.
Give me an example. Give me an example of a belief you've heard from MAGA that frightens you.
So right now, a big one is like the denial of Project 2025, right? Like to deny that that's happening is insane to me. We're looking at a Christian version of the Islamic Revolution. Yeah. That's what's coming.
I don't disagree with that. We covered this yesterday, that because I always say you hear, if you watch right-wing news, you're going to hear about the Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders, the AOCs. You hear about a far left America. But if you watch right-wing news, the OANs, the Fox News, the Newsmax, they never tell you what a far right America will be. They always talk about far left. You never hear about the far right. And the far right does exist. There are plenty of far right countries on this planet. And as you're pointing out, most far right countries are not Christian in modern times. But if you go to an Islamic country, for instance, like Afghanistan or something that's far right, the mindset is still the same. It's just a different religion.
Yes, absolutely. And what I'm worried about with the whole thing with like Project 2025 and the MAGA movement right now is that they genuinely believe that they do have the best interests of the country in mind. Like nobody thinks that they're the bad guy. And that's the hardest part about politics, is trying to convince somebody that they are, aiding in the agenda of the person that's going to send us down this destructive path. And then a lot of these people do see that the path ahead in the Republican agenda is destructive, but they think that the ends justify the means. Like there's a saying that I like about because so much of this is centered around Christian nationalism. Never will you get a good man to commit atrocities like a man who fears God.
Yeah, that's a good point. You give your life to God. I got to move it on, Beard in Politics, but I agree with that 100%. Thank you for coming through.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. I wanted to respond to another comment I saw on YouTube, but unfortunately the comments have scrolled up so quickly, and I do appreciate you folks that are on YouTube. Smash that like button, get it up to about 200. We got hundreds of you folks here on YouTube as well. By the way, folks, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central, weekdays 1 p.m. Central is when you'll find us here. Usually a couple thousand of us get together and talk. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. We are MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one, always will be. So if you enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides, all walks of the political spectrum, feel free to follow the program on TikTok, subscribe on YouTube if you will, and we'll have a little bit of fun. So looking in the comments, dictatorship scares me, hatred scares me, January 6th scared me, and they got a bunch of emojis followed by Biden. Some of those events were frightening. Some of those events were indeed frightening. So Libs only admitted Biden is unfit when they couldn't prop him up in that debate. Says Zach, I agree with that. I do agree that, and I'm included in that, but it's simply because I bought into what I could actually see. I was like the guy who walked out of 2,000 Mules thinking the election was stolen. I'm only going by what they're presenting. They were presenting Biden as, perfectly fine. And then at the debate, which was kind of like a political Super Bowl of sorts, Biden shows up and flops like that. There's no more excuses to be made. I strongly believe that both sides are picking party over the good of this country. Meaning, I believe both sides are lying about their true feelings in regards to their leading candidate. I think there's a hell of a lot of Democrats that are saying that Biden's fine and we need to get behind Biden when behind closed doors they're saying this guy needs to step down. They absolutely absolutely were saying it about Trump. All you got to do is turn back to January 7th and look at TV. They absolutely were saying it about him, but they're saying it about Biden too. This is something happening on both sides, that the politicians are standing behind the candidate, even though in private they're admitting this is not a good choice for this country. So we'll see what happens. Look it in the comments. Just because you know Biden is the most unqualified president we've ever had doesn't mean we all think the same about our candidate. Your opinion. But I'm just simply saying on January 7th, a lot of folks, and Mitch McConnell included, was blaming Trump. Lindsey Graham said you should have shot those protesters in the head. Now look where he's at. So just understand, folks on both sides have done this. Going to the box. We'll keep it moving. Appreciate you folks that are holding on there. We'll go to Travis Thurman. Good afternoon, Travis. Welcome to the program. Asking that question, do you believe... well, Travis dropped out. We'll keep it going. Real quick in the comments, I want to... Lindsey Graham needs to go away, says... okay. Well, here's the problem that's on the liberals, on the right-wing side of the aisle. The liberals don't have this problem. This is the problem that's on the right-wing side of the aisle, where, for the most part, the Republicans are voting for Trump. The liberals are voting more for democratic ideals. I don't think a lot of liberals are voting for Biden. They're voting for the democratic way of life. Some believe that Trump is going to destroy democracy. The right's voting for Trump, period. The right is voting for Trump. They like the policies that he's handing down that stand on conservative principles and conservative values. But if Trump made an about face on any of those policies, they would still vote for Trump. They're voting for Trump. The Democrats are voting for democratic policies, ideals, or whatever. The right ain't voting for Republican ideals and policies. They're voting for Trump. Be honest, things were better under Trump, says Richard. Depends on what, in some degrees, yeah, in some degrees, no. I mean, I liked that I could, buy groceries for cheaper under Trump. I didn't like the fact that there was rioting and looting and all kinds of chaos going on under Trump that is not existing under Biden. So everything wasn't better under Trump. Depends on what you're focusing on. Generally, when people say everything was better under Trump, it's solely based on finances. What's going on with women and pro-choice, pro-life, that conversation, that was not better under Trump, in my opinion. It depends on what you're looking at. I'm just going to leave it at that. Going back to the box. Amir, good afternoon, Amir. Welcome to the program. How we get to far left and far right? How about just liberals and conservatives? Because the parties are going further and further apart. I mean, a lot of the LGBT stuff, certainly playing on a different sports team, which isn't very common. The border, letting folks in at these great numbers. To me, some of that stuff has went a bit too far to the left. Forcing kids to read the Bible in school, that is absolutely far right. When you start forcing one particular religion on the children, that's far right. The abortion laws that are coming down the pipe in some states, where even if a woman might die, she still got to have a kid. That is far fucking right. There's nothing moderate about that. So both parties have started doing a lot of far left and far right stuff. So you're not going to just hear liberals and conservatives anymore. Let me try the box again. Give it a moment to reset. Trump trying to change America, says boom. A lot of folks believe that. The nation was founded on Christianity. There is a very valuable reason why, if one religious belief of one religion is allowed to have privilege, that other religions are not afforded to say. Well, let me just say, first of all, I actually, because I grew up in the church, Bible school, every, weekend or whatever, every other week. During the summertime, we'd go to Bible school and weeks at a time there. I used to direct the choir, all of this shit. Asked me when I was a kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would have said a preacher. I'm not very Christian now. For the sake of what Joseph Bearpaw said in the comments on YouTube, the nation was founded on Christianity. I look back and I have to say bullshit. If you believe what the American colonists and the founding fathers in this country was doing was representative of a pro-Christian society, then, for lack of a better phrase, you got Christianity fucked up. I mean, they were treating people horribly bad, using them for everything from slavery to sex slaves, horribly bad. If that is what Christianity, if America was founded on Christianity, I don't want a lot to do with it. I'm just going to tell you that. I don't want really much. I mean, people were just literally using human beings to live as luxurious a life as they could off of those human beings. That's Christianity? Because they were reading from the same Bible we do today, and somehow they thought that was right. So the idea that America was founded on Christianity, that shit's warped as hell. I have a hard time really feeling confident being a Christian by nowadays. And I mentioned on the show yesterday, our love of capitalism challenges my Christian mentality as well. You should have to pay for everything, no mercy, be responsible or die. Essentially, what do they say? Learn to swim or drown. That's kind of how the capitalist market is. You either work or you don't eat. I don't know if that sounds very Christian to me. I mean, because I always bring up the Last Supper. Jesus could have said the same thing before handing everybody a slice of bread. How much you gonna pay for it? You know, when it came to dividing up that loaf of bread to give all of those folks, Jesus could have said, well, who gonna pay for that? Because this is my bread. I work for this. They should have to work for theirs too. That's how a capitalist market works. I don't see the Christianity in America. I'm just going to say that. Not even wanting to give the downtrodden health care. I don't see the Christianity in it. I think that America was founded on Christianity if you ignore half of the shit that happened during its founding. Then it makes sense. Otherwise, in my opinion, it doesn't. So Christian nation is just shorthand for the value systems. That's fair, but that is not the definition people have in their minds when they hear Christian nation. Yeah, because what they're trying to do is pick and choose what part of American history they want to own up to. Yeah, there was two-parent households. The divorce rate was much less. You know, they pick and choose the good shit. Ignore all of the bad things that were going on and say, you know, it was a better time back then. Yeah, because you're taking out the majority of what was happening. Going back to the box, Gerald MC. Good afternoon, Gerald. Welcome to the program. You clearly don't understand it, says Craig Halpern. Tell me what I don't understand. Tell me what I don't understand about all of the shit that was going on during the founding of this nation that was anti-Christian. Tell me what I don't understand. Keep in mind, as people bring up the KKK was started by the Democratic Party, keep in mind they were Christian too. They were burning crosses. They too believed in God. A lot of their meetings were held in church, for Christ's sake. I don't see the Christianity. I just don't. Do you think deregulation creates monopolies? Yeah, it absolutely can. When we say, because I know that's on the right side of the aisle, I'm trying to bring up guests, not trying to talk you guys' ear off, but the box is acting funny. But I'm answering questions in the meantime. In regards to deregulation, there's good and bad to it. A lot of times, a lot of businesses or even citizens want to do things that are difficult because of all the regulations. As a former rideshare driver, I used to drive a taxi back in the day. Hard to get a medallion in certain states, hard to do the job because there's so much oversight and regulation. I get it. But regulation doesn't form in a vacuum. Regulation usually forms because somebody was doing shit they shouldn't be doing. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, that didn't just come out of nowhere. It came out of factories dumping waste in people's backyard. People being willing to kill every damn eagle they could to profit off of it to the point of making the bald eagle damn near extinct. Regulation comes from somewhere. There's regulation, for instance, against child labor. Get rid of the regulation and you're going to have kids at a very young age working again. Regulations against you working over 40 hours and being, by law, forced to get overtime. Get rid of the regulation and you're going to have employers making you work without paying you overtime. Regulation comes from somewhere. The more of it you peel back, the more the corporations use that against you. Getting rid of regulation, there is some benefits, but I do believe a lot of negatives can come out of that. Going back to the bottom, and thank you, Guess What, for the subscription. Appreciate that, Guess What. Thank you. I'm having a bit of trouble bringing up guests. I'm going to try another. We'll try Gemma. Let's see how it works. While that's happening, and I see red tape. Yeah, Freddie Dorsey, it can lead to red tape, but it can also lead to corporations and folks doing things that are bad for the people. You think if you got rid of OSHA is a regulation, Operational Safety and Healthy, Safety and Health Administration, I think that's what that stands for. You think you could rely on your employers to do what's in the best interest of you and focus on your safety if the law didn't require them to? It's cheaper to let you potentially do dangerous shit and replace you if something happens to you than to pay attention and be concerned about your welfare. OSHA didn't come up in a vacuum. It came up for a reason. FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, you think the companies would do that on their own? So there is regulation that's necessary. I don't buy into the notion that Trump wants to get rid of the Department of Education. That's going to cost, if you get rid of the federal Department of Education, what is it? Every state teaches their children something different. Maybe all of a sudden 2 20-year-olds grow up and they're having a conversation when they went to school back in the day during the Trump era. One of them thinks Christopher Columbus discovered America and nobody was here. The other one knows all about the Native Americans. Or one believes that, the Confederates really loved black people and was fighting the Civil War to free everybody. I mean, this is what will happen if you allow everybody to teach what their version of different things. So I don't buy into getting rid of the Department of Education. Get rid of the bureaucracy or some of the oversight. Don't get rid of the whole damn organization. One more time, RP, really, and Michael Wood. Wow, thank you folks that are subscribing. Certainly appreciate that. I'm gonna start letting some of my subscribers run a show. RP, good afternoon.
Hello, Tim. How you doing?
I'm doing real good. We're asking, does it appear as if Trump maybe has had an epiphany of sorts? He's not really speaking very negatively of Biden since somebody tried to take his life. Is it maybe he's kind of wised up that the divisive rhetoric may not be in his best interest?
I was wised up, still to be seen. I do believe they could still be, sort of shell shocked. I mean, that is a very traumatic experience that he went through, right? So, and it's only a few days past us. This is something that some people don't never get over, being shot at or being shot for that matter.
Well, yeah, you can see it every time he looks in the mirror. He's going to have a permanent scar there on his ear, probably.
Right, correct. So, I can't just yet say he's wised up because we don't know, what he's going to say when he does speak. But as of right now, I think he's maybe more so just still shocked at what happened to him.
It could be. I mean, would a calmer Trump make you favor him more?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it would be favor him more. I mean, it'd just be, I think it'd be good for the country.
I agree with that.
I think somewhere along the lines, the political decorum has changed, and not for the better. And so I think if Trump calmed down the rhetoric a little bit, or what he used to say before this tragic incident happened, I think it might be better for everybody.
Well, in regards to the decorum and the political rhetoric, I mentioned this earlier in the program. J.D. Vance, the now presidential or vice presidential candidate, is saying that rhetoric led to the attempt on Trump's life. Do you believe that Biden's rhetoric is responsible for what happened to Trump?
First
first of all, no, I do not believe that. Number one. Number two, I'm not sure how anyone could take the word of someone who's such a big flip-flopper, right? This is a man who was critical of Trump from the gate. He called him big things. Like,
you talking about JD Vance, how critical he was of Trump.
Critical of Trump, right? And again, it's not to say people can't change, but I mean, for you to go to this is the worst candidate ever, or this is America's version of Smittler. You can't. Those are words you can't kind of walk back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but to be fair and push back. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. Take the likes up over 100,000. We're pretty damn close with over 800 of you in here. Show the programs to support. Tap the screen. Kamala Harris referred to Biden and alluded that he was a racist, and look where she's at.
Yeah, you were right. You were right. And I guess to be fair across the board, you were right in the sense that it's actually, I guess, political warfare, right?
Yeah.
So when you're running the same party, you're trying to get the primary vote to be the nominee. It's expected that you're going to throw some mud. And then she's been selected to be the vice president. So I guess in that aspect, it is kind of a thing that happens probably more frequently than you think, because most times the vice president is someone who is running against the president, whoever's elected before. Not all the time, but sometimes, where the vice president is picked from a group of folks who were trying to run for president before. So, yeah, you got a good point there.
Let me ask you this, because I had a caller earlier state this, and these are facts, that the Democratic Party was the party of slavery and the Democrats were the party of the KKK. I mean, the Democratic Party has a horrible history in regards to racism, yet blacks overwhelmingly vote Democrat to this day. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give the floor to you. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the overwhelming majority of blacks vote Democrat, considering how the Democratic Party originated?
Well, I will use this, and I will go in the same sense in which you would ask a Caucasian person about slavery and how they're not responsible for the slave owners of the day, right? So, in essence, the Democratic Party of yesteryear, or whatever that was, is not the Democratic Party of today. Those things have changed. So basically, the Democratic Party in which slavery was a big deal and KKK was started. That is more of the party of today of Republicans. Now,
based on what makes you say that?
Because they flip flopped. It's not a big leap to put these two things together, right? So the Democratic Party of that time is had the leanings and beliefs of the Republican Party today in that arena, right? It's not the same thing. So it's not like the Joe Bidens or Nancy Pelosi's of today. That the Democratic Party had the same values and thoughts then. It's way different. So this is why those parties and slavery was championed by the Democrats of the past, because the party ideologies were different. So for someone to hold accountable today's Democratic Party for a Democratic Party of 150, 200 years ago is not quite fair.
So now listening to you speak, so you believe that the mindset, the political aspirations of the Democrats that wanted slavery and all of that of the old South, you believe that they closely identify more with modern day Republicans?
Yeah, but let me be clear, because I don't want nobody to be confused here. I'm not.
But go ahead. I'm not.
I'm just saying, but I don't want to get I'm not saying that Republicans of today are racist or they want slavery to be a thing. I'm just saying in ideological terms that that's the party of that time is more aligned with the thinking and the actions of today's Republicans.
Yeah.
Not saying that they want everything that they had before, but I'm just saying it's not the same Democratic Party as it is today.
And what is your opinion on the fact that Trump is doing better than most Republican nominees or Republican candidates with the black community? I mean, he's not doing great. He'll never get 50%, but compared to Romney, McCain, and Bush, he's doing better.
Yeah, I think here's the biggest thing I think that Trump makes Trump attractive to those who like him. The first and foremost is that he's devoted to speaking his mind. He does not hold back. He does not generally, filter his comments. He say whatever comes to his mind.
True.
Right. So that's I think that's number one. That he's not politically correct. And so this, I think we've seen in the last probably 6 years, 5, 6 years or so, before he came in office, and before that, people had seemed to become more emboldened on what they say, how they act, what they do, right? So his emergence showed itself. I mean, heavily, and you could tell by people's demeanor, people's way they were acting, the way they were talking, and it's still continuing today.
So you believe Trump himself, maybe through his rhetoric, or as you say, speaking his mind, has emboldened people who are racist to feel free to speak?
I want him to say racist, but I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, anyone who has that same philosophies or ideas, or like Trump, these are individuals who have become more emboldened to speak their minds, to say what they feel.
All right. I got one more question before I move it on from you, before I part ways. This comes from JC in the comments. He states, not all Republicans are racist, but all races vote with the Republicans. You see any validity to that?
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, listen, I do agree that all Republicans are not racist, but I can't speak for all races voting Republican. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, because again, there are some things you got to read in between the lines to find, right? So there's some sayings, some things that's been said that could be interpreted as.
Give me an example.
Let's see. I know Joe Biden gets flack for it. Vote for me or you're not black. But didn't Trump say something with the same lines about Jewish people?
Yep, he sure did.
That's one. Then let's see. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's something about the Reich. About the like they were talking about the right wing, but it was saying the Reich.
Oh yeah, unite the Reich. Yeah, that did.
There you go.
And I haven't brought that up since that happened, but that is something that is very troubling. That Trump would tweet out "unite the Reich" or something. I don't even remember the excuse he made. Was it a misspelling or something? But yeah, for that to come out, wow.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, that word and the terminology is only used that we know about at one time in history, and it was a very bad time in history, right? Yeah. So, and now that we say it out loud, it was in the same vein as the same people that he said, if you don't vote for me, then you're not Jewish, right? So I mean, but again, there's other things that he's said or done that could be misconstrued as racism. And I'm not saying he's racist. I don't have that knowledge to say he's racist. I'm just saying to some it may seem like he is, or even some people in his party is. But I know you're gonna let me go here in a second. That's fine. If I can for 1 second, I wanna respond to what I heard earlier about DJ Julio, right? And again, I respect that guy.
All right, real quick, go ahead.
Yeah. You were talking about how the attempt on Trump's life was a bad thing, right? And then you likened it to what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband, right?
Right.
This is part of the issue we have in our country right now. I can sit here and tell you unequivocally that what happened to Trump is
awful,
is disturbing, it's wrong, bad, horrible, right? What happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yet they will try to justify between the two things that one, okay, it's justified for this reason, but the other one is the most horrible thing anyone could ever do. So I'm like, okay, but two people try to kill persecuted from other people. Those acts are both equally wrong, equally horrible.
You get no disagreement from me. I got to move it on RP as usual. Thank you for coming through.
All right, so have a good one.
You too. And I do agree with him that you should view what happened to President Trump and Nancy Pelosi's husband in the same light. There shouldn't be, well, with this one, at the end of the day, you had two Americans that faced somebody trying to take their lives. There's absolutely, the idea that so much humor was made on Nancy Pelosi's husband doesn't look good now that folks are pointing out how bad it looks happening to Trump. It doesn't look good to have that on your resume when you're saying what happened to Trump is wrong. I mean, and what makes it worse is that Trump himself engaged in the behavior. So one thing, if we're talking about what was done to Nancy Pelosi's husband was wrong, but it was a bunch of right-wingers, it was him. President Biden has not made fun of Trump at all. Trump himself made ridicule of that. I mean, there's just no excuse for it. Looking in the comments though, I don't fall under the victim mindset the left continues to feed you, causing division, says Jimmy. That depends on what your definition of victim is. If you believe that the immigrants are here to rape and murder everybody, and even though there's no prevalence of that happening, you have victim mindset. You are everybody is claiming to be potentially victimized by somebody or something. You are playing the victim, just like you just see, let's say, African Americans talking about racism as playing the victim card. But you might see something that, let's say, a white person complained about is not. But they're both complaining that something is a danger to them or unacceptable. You just agree with one and disagree with the other. Looking in the comments, the left drives cars into crowds, says Eric B. Did that happen in Charlottesville where a person used a car to take somebody's life? I mean, I assume you think that guy was was a Democrat. All right, if Trump gets back in, you really think gas and food's going to be cheaper? It's possible. I don't feel 100% certain that Trump is somehow some kind of economic miracle drug. I believe if Trump gets reelected, he will do what he can to bring down the cost of goods and services. If he succeeds, he'll brag about it and take credit for it. If he fails, there will be some liberal that is conveniently available to blame it on. For instance, Trump is promising to lower crime in Democrat liberal cities if he's elected. If he wins and crime goes down, he'll take credit for it. If he loses and it doesn't, he'll be blaming liberal judges, liberal mayors, and liberal politicians. That's how it works. If it wins, I get credit. If it doesn't, it's your fault. Good example. Dr. Fauci gets a hell of a lot of blame from Trump and his followers and many in his administration. If Dr. Fauci's advice was something that everybody viewed as favorable, guess who would be taking credit for that? Under my administration, with the advice of Dr. Fauci, we saved this many lives, we did this, we did that. If it went well, he would be taking credit for it. If not, well, it's Fauci's fault. So it kind of works like that. And I see Winston says, give me a break. Great television sitcom from the 1980s. Stop voting people in. Stop voting people. It never mattered. Y'all are standing in line sweating for nothings. J. Rich, I don't buy into that. If he fails, he'll brag about it and take credit for it. Wait, they did where I don't get your comment there, Eric. Trump didn't take credit for anything that went bad during his administration. I think Biden gave the phrase, the buck stops with me. He's taking credit for a few things that went wrong. Trump is going to blame it on somebody else. I mean, we know for a fact Trump does not apologize for anything. I think the only thing I've ever seen Trump apologize for is to grab him by the you-know-what tape. That's it. Was he perfect during his administration? Clearly, he should be apologizing for something. He didn't apologize for a damn thing. So, yeah, he doesn't take credit for it. Looking in the comments, What is Biden taking credit for? Well, he's taking credit for how shitty he was at the debate. He's taking credit for that. Trumpet, the best water. Trump, what? Trump had the best air, if you let him tell you. Oh, yikes. Going back to the box, thank you folks that are tapping the screen. Somewhat got us over the 100,000 hump, maybe 120 if some of you folks show the program some participation. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Tap the screen. Justin Hayes, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. And thank you folks that are following. The box is really problematic today. I helped tap the screen. Tim JC, thank you. Trump is selling sneakers again. Yes, he is. $300 a pop. I wouldn't be opposed to some J6s, some Trump shoes. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's political artifacts. It might be valuable one day. Why is it racist to secure the border? It's not. It's not racist to secure the border. It's probably being viewed that way, and the box is timing out, but it's being viewed that way because of how it's being handled. You can say there's a problem at the border without asking why do people not come here from white countries, refer to everybody coming across the border as rapists and murderers. I mean, the language is why people are saying it. But securing the border is not racist at all. The language being used by Trump, in my opinion, is unnecessarily harsh when the simple truth will do. Just simply show the photos of all these people coming across the border and make it clear something needs to be done and Biden's not doing enough. That the truth is enough. You don't need to come up and make it sound like every damn body that's coming across the border is looking to murder or rape an American. The truth is good enough. But to compound the point, Trump often adds a lot of whipped cream to what would have been a good tasting sundae already. So, don't know shit. I met the man in 2010, fraud. P-Roll. I don't mind you telling me that I don't know shit, but who did you meet in 2010 to suggest that they are a fraud? Who did you actually meet? We need to secure the border. I'm 100% in agreement with that. Not securing the border is foolish. Fine. Let me say something about the border while the damn box times out. And then tap the screen, get the likes up to 120. A lot of the things, and maybe this is my opinion where a hell of a lot of you may disagree and you're invited to do so. A lot of the issues we deal with coming across the border that Trump is yelling out about, fentanyl and drug overdoses, child trafficking, what's the other one? Criminals. I suppose criminals coming across the border. I don't believe, and I'm in favor of securing the border. I don't mind building a damn wall. But I don't believe that you're going to have a success rate that Trump alludes to. I don't think it's going to bring it down much at all. And I'll tell you why. The reason we have these things in this country is not because of all of these illegals coming here. It's because of the American demand for it. Under the Trump administration, where he was bragging about taking care of the border security, was there a shortage on fentanyl? Did Americans have a hard time getting high if they wanted to? No, the drugs are still coming across. Because the fact is, and I believe there are several studies to show this, the overwhelming majority of drugs brought into this country, smuggled into this country, is by Americans. Americans will go down there and work with the cartel to receive these huge paychecks, go to that country, let them load up their cars, their backpacks, or even their fucking bellies with the product and come back in the country. It's Americans that is doing this. Have you not seen the show Locked Up Abroad? It is plenty of Americans that are, it ain't some Hispanic running across the Rio Grande with a backpack on their back at high speed. It is Americans and some folks south of the border coming across legalized ports of entry. So if you build a wall, the overwhelming majority of drugs are coming at the where the door is, where the people are, where there is border security, homeland security. That's where the drugs are coming through. That's where the drugs are coming through. It may be in their car tires. It may be in behind their dashboard. But that's where the drugs are coming through. It's not on somebody's back running across the desert at high speed. It's through the legal ports of entry in hopes that the government don't catch them. That's where the overwhelming majority of drugs come through. They come through the country the legal way, through the damn border. So the idea that if you build a wall, it's going to stop this shit. No. I don't deny that building a wall may have some benefits. My opinion is it's just going to be minute. It's going to be really minute. Everything from, as I mentioned, folks using drugs to even competing with folks for black jobs. The reason they are here is because there is a demand for what they are offering. They're offering cheap labor. They're offering good drugs, sex in regards to child trafficking. All of that shit that they are offering is only getting in this country because there are Americans here that want it. That is why it comes here. There are Americans that want the drugs, want the trafficking, and want the cheap labor. As long as there are Americans that want it, no wall is going to stop it. Because I would submit to you, when you look at folks like Senator Menendez being found guilty on several felonies yesterday, all the way to the top levels of government, the cartel has infinite wealth. The cartel has billions and billions of dollars. You can always find an American you can pay off. You're not going to stop this shit. I don't think, and what Trump would end up doing is building a wall, and then once that didn't stop it, he'd find somebody to blame. But I don't believe at the end of the day the wall is going to all of a sudden make fentanyl in America dry up, or suddenly there's no child trafficking going on and nobody can find an immigrant to work for them. It's just not. There's too many damn Americans in this country that want this stuff here. And they'll find a way, talking about Americans, they'll find a way to get this stuff in here because they're making millions of dollars off of it coming here. It's not just the folks south of the border that are making money. People here are making money off of this shit. Good luck with that. Look it in the comments. Ajax, damn, I can't believe you're even saying this shit. It's ridiculous. All right, so maybe you believe if Trump builds a wall, it'll magically get rid of all the problems associated with illegal immigration. Okay, good luck with that. And oddly enough, this is what I'm talking about. What I say is really jacked up to be somewhat close to a moderate. I lean left on some social issues, but being close to the middle. Here I have a guest like Ajax in the comments saying, damn, I can't believe you even saying this shit. It's fucking ridiculous. And then on YouTube, Midnight 2024 suggests that you're an undercover Trump supporter. You're not fooling anyone. See what I'm talking about? I'm a sellout and Uncle Ruckus on this side. I'm a dumbass piece of shit liberal on this side, on the same fucking program. It is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Feel free to comment as needed. You can criticize the host. It's all about free speech. Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central. Catch you tomorrow, I think. And thank you folks for tuning in on YouTube as well. I think you're wonderful. I absolutely think you're wonderful. I'm loving it, Eric. And I think this is the greatest show on the internet. I can certainly end with that. Flattery will get you everywhere, Eric. Appreciate it.